Hello, everyone. Welcome to not another episode of Dungeon Boys, but an episode of Dungeon Boys on the Dungeon Boys podcast. We're going to be doing a little bit special. We're going to be putting a bread tie on the end of this.
Explanation Boys.
Yeah, Explanation Boys. We're going to be tying a bread tie on the end of the plastic bag full of the amorphous loaf of D&D that we've been making over the past. How long has it been? Year?
Thereabout, yeah.
Sure, Dungeon Boys, I don't think has been quite a year, has it?
No.
Well, we have 48 episodes on a weekly basis, so close.
Yeah.
We've missed a few weeks, so really it probably has been about a year.
Yeah. I think we started like the end of summer last year, didn't we?
That's true, and it's the end of summer now. Crazy talk.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Amorphous loaf.
Yeah.
I really like that, Keith.
Hey, that's our new D&D creature, amorphous loaf. You smell flour. Yeast.
But not in any combination you would ever imagine.
A thud. A 2-ton thud is heard behind you in the darkness. All right, let's get this show started. My name's Keith, by the way.
My name's Brice.
I've been playing your DM.
And I've been playing your favorite character, Jack Law.
Also, we should explain that we're missing 2 people on this podcast.
We're not missing 2 people. We got the 2 most important people. Oh. We just don't have the extras that have been with us since the beginning.
We'll let the audience decide on that one. But Josh and Zenas, Josh playing Arlo and Zenas playing Grim, could not be with us today. We've had some scheduling issues, but we didn't want to go 3 whole weeks without you getting any information from us, without tying up Dungeon Boys. So Brice is going to be here with me today, and we are going to be, like I said, tidying up this amorphous loaf of D&D, trying to press it into a nice plastic bag, a nice Wonder Bread bag, so that you can pick it up, just in case you weren't there for the baking process. You can pick it up, take it home to your family, make sandwiches, toast, French toast, whatever else you do with your bread. So that's what we're here to do. We're going to do a couple of things. First off, we think it would behoove us, and Brice, I believe, agrees, that we ought to explain, why we do D&D. Why have we, why do we play it and record it, and then B, why have we stuck with it for a year when, it hasn't been like a life-changing experience financially or anything like that for us. So we want to talk about that. We're going to then do...
Actually, it's August now. We started in August of 2017.
Yep.
So
playing D&D.
Yeah.
No, it was. I thought it might be earlier, but no, it was.
It was like August 1st or something, because I know on my old phone I had a text on July 28th that said, "Hey, what do we need to bring for food for our first game?"
Wow, yeah. So we've been in D&D 2 years. We are not super veterans.
It was pizza, by the way.
We've been having a lot of fun. Yeah, Marco's Pizza. We never tried it again because it was not very good.
Not saying anything bad about Marco's. Maybe we just got a bad batch.
So we're talking about why we play Dungeons and Dragons. We want to talk about what was the next thing? Our story recap? Or no, we're going to explain the world a little bit to you. Just in case you're jumping in and you're like, hey, I don't want to go back through 48 episodes. Honestly, I think that's a solid... If you're coming in when we're doing our next thing, I say just jump it right into that if we do a good job explaining this, because, the first half of this podcast, we had audio issues. Still, we're beholden to where we get to record this show. It's probably all right. We got fans going. It's summertime. We don't have air conditioner in this thing, so we're beholden to where we can film or record the show. So there's audio issues and stuff that come up. So I can imagine maybe moving forward, hopefully we'll have some better times with that. But if you're here, listen to this and decide for yourself if you want to go back and experience all the things that we have, or if you just want to move forward with us. Quick announcement as well before we get right into this is that in the future, for the next couple of sessions, the next couple of episodes, probably more than a couple, probably the next 10 or so, we're going to be doing one-off campaigns. Josh is going to be our next DM for probably about 3 episodes, and then it'll be either Brice or Zenas, and then it'll be either Brice or Zenas again, and then maybe if we'll see how it's going. If we're getting any feedback, maybe I'll throw in an extra one shot that I do, and then we'll hop back into regular Dungeon Boys Season 2 with me as a DM, as long as that's what everybody wants. But if we hit on one of those, it's kind of the way the Adventure Zone did it, I believe. But if we hit on a story that everybody's like, oh man, this is way better than original Dungeon Boys. Like Brice's campaign is the best thing I've ever heard. Do that more, then Brice will have to buckle down, and that's what we'll have to do probably. So
that's not an optional thing. You have to do that. You have to run the campaign now.
It probably won't be as simple as that, but that's it's half the point of why we're doing it. We want to.
Should we give an explanation? Or we don't really know much. Should we give the general idea of what the first campaign is supposed to be, or just let Josh reveal that? Let's
let Josh reveal that. I don't want to take any of his thunder. He had a really good idea.
Yeah.
But we will tell you, I'll be playing an orc fighter, and it will take place in the same world of Mediene that I've created.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna play a lightning genasi.
Yeah.
I want to see how that goes.
Genasi.
It's pretty cool.
In the dark, you can say, I'm Genasi, so you Genasi me.
He's a lightning genasi, so I imagine like little sparks come off of him.
He's easy to see. So that's the announcement. So tune in future episodes. This will probably be released in at least 2 parts. This is going to be a long conversation. So this will probably be released in 2 parts over 2 weeks, so you can get the full recap, and then we're going to move straight into doing our one-offs. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to see what you guys like. Of course, if you've made it this far into the show, I need you to let us know that you're listening. Let us know that what you enjoy and what you don't. Follow us on Twitter at Tank Media Games to talk to us or leave a review or whatever. I know we've taken about 10 minutes to get fully rolling, but here we are. So, Brice, you and Josh are responsible, I would say, for us playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I'd say mostly Josh.
You think so?
Yeah. Because of that.
Well, then why are you here?
Because Josh can't be.
That's right.
Because Josh is actually at another Comic-Con, and that is the reason we started.
It is, yep.
Because Josh went to Comic-Con, and he ran across some people who were... I think it actually began with Stranger Things.
Oh,
Stranger
absolutely.
Things is brought back Dungeons and Dragons, and it made the people who created like Adventure Zone, I guess, kind of want to jump into it.
Yeah, maybe so.
And even if it wasn't that, then it was at least probably the inspiration for having a booth at a major Comic-Con.
Yeah, maybe so.
And Josh found out about it, got their card, and started listening to it.
You're talking about he started listening to the Adventure Zone.
I don't know if that's the first one he listened to.
I think it might be. That's the one that he turned me on to.
Okay, then maybe so. But anyway, he started listening to a Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
Yep.
Spread the love to you.
Yes, and I got hooked.
Yeah.
Hopelessly hooked.
And Keith, being the creative mind that he is, he wanted to create his own new world.
It is true.
And we started. I always thought whenever we first started that you made up the very beginning of your first campaign.
Oh, no.
I realized that is just like the starter thing that everybody does.
The Minds of Fandover. It comes in the beginner pack.
Yeah. So we just started with the basic story, and Keith evolved it into like a magic zombie apocalypse thing. It was pretty cool. I almost want to go back and have a more experienced retelling of that campaign.
I would really very much enjoy going back and doing it again, where it wasn't like just pull everything out of your butt, not know how to do everything.
Yeah.
I knew nothing,
Roll for initiative. What's that?
It was kind of helpful to where most of us knew nothing, because now we have different. I mean, you've heard it on the show or whatever. We're all very close. Like Brice, Josh, and I are brothers, and we're very close, and also I would like to just I don't think I'm gonna get emotional, but D&D and playing D&D is responsible, I think, for our relationship, strengthening and us doing tons of stuff together. And like now, before we started playing D&D, I didn't see Brice a lot. I don't know, I'm looking at the computer. I'm into this thing where when I stream, I'm always looking for chat. And so like there's nothing on that computer, but
so just like normal.
Yeah. Now,
I'm sorry. Keith is popular.
Now I'm gonna cry. No, but now
y'all tune into Keith's game streams.
Now I consider like you're one of my best friends, and I enjoy hanging out with you more than most people.
Now I'm gonna cry.
So it's just been really cool that this has brought us together. It's not a Satanist thing, D&D.
Oh, okay.
It was part of the Satanic Panic back in the 80s or 70s or whatever when D&D first started. Have you heard of that? It's the Satanic Panic. It was this thing where like suburban families thought that Satan was waging war against the youth, and D&D was part of that. They thought it was of the devil.
I know there's some kind of like music group of some sort called Satanic Panic.
Yeah, I don't know if the chicken came before the egg on that one. But anyway,
I think
I'm thankful to D&D.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot, and also I don't know, D&D's almost kind of therapeutic.
Yeah.
Because you're not yourself, but you still are yourself, and you can act out any misgivings you have about your fellow players. Oh, I was just in character whenever I shouted at you like that.
Yeah. To finish my thought, though, what I'm saying was now that we have this experience level and it's all varying, and I was trying to say that me and Josh and Brice are very close. We're brothers, we're family, and Zenas is an honorary brother of mine. We share no familial relation, but Zenas and I are he's one of my closest friends as well. Yeah, Brice. Well, yeah, we're not going to explain our family situation. We'll make another 2-part episode on that. But now that we have these differing levels of experience, like Zenas, this D&D is one of his core interests. It's one of mine too. But like he's always searching things, and he's got a brain full of stuff that he's memorized about the show, which can lead to us having like DM versus player scuffles on the show, which
especially in the magic portion.
Yeah.
Keith is not a caster by like any video game he's played. Never played the caster. He always played the guy with the bow.
Yep, bow, or if there is no bow available, give me a sword, or now give me an axe.
I thought playing D&D and it being so like open to interpretation, I thought I'd like the casting classes, but I actually think my favorite class thus far is the rogue. Yeah. Whenever I played games, I always liked the sneaky type. Even like playing like Splinter Cell, that was just a cool game, shooting out light bulbs and stuff that. I loved that.
So, different experience levels, it leads to scuffles, but what I'm saying is, even with that, it would be cool to go back to the original campaign and be and try to play it up and figure out how to make it better and stuff. Because I tried to build in a twist, and I was getting my feet wet with storytelling, but also it was like, well, what did you get done this week? Well, I'll build the rest of the story after after that. I just wrote it all down on a legal pad. Like during when I in some downtime at work, I would just take out my legal pad and just write the campaign out essentially, and then bring it. At
least 45% of the time, you left that legal pad at work though.
Yeah,
and we just went straight out the butt.
Yeah, many times I just had to really pull it out my butt. But I had created a few cities. Understone, I think, was one. Had the big chandelier in it that you guys fought a boss on the chandelier.
Yeah, that was cool.
You had a moment where you climbed up a tower, didn't you? Or Zenas or somebody climbed up a tower and just murdered some people.
Oh yeah, that was the beginning of Mosnak. That was the I had like controlled the mind of this stone golem. Basically. Yeah. And I was on his back, and he was carrying me up the side of a tower. Yeah. And we got up to the top, and we were stealthed. And I wanted to pull the guy over the edge, but I rolled a nat 20. So I ended up like throwing him into the forest behind us, like a mile away.
Yeah. There's something about the innocence of like you don't really know how the game works. And I feel like at the beginning, and it's one thing that I need to just say more on the show is the rule. I think I adhere by the rule of cool, which is a D&D thing. Is like if it's cool, if it's gonna be cool, I'll let you try it, or like if something's cool, we'll bend the rules a little bit to make it happen.
There's no rule about when you jump off a tower onto somebody, how much damage does that deal? But when Zenas wanted to jump off the tower on the gate and land on that dude's chest,
we did some math.
Yeah. I think we did a pretty good job.
I think so too.
Whatever falling damage you would normally incur was just transferred to that person, and you took like half as much or whatever.
He was a big boy, so he caved the guy's chest in. It makes sense. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we explain the story. I am giddy with joy talking about this. I'm absolutely almost shaking with joy and pride over these accomplishments. But so D&D, we all love fantasy stuff. I mean, love fantasy stuff. And Josh came, and I remember a conversation we had in the barn where Josh was like, we need to play D&D or whatever. And it was before I started listening to the show, to the Adventure Zone. Shout outs to Griffin and Justin and Travis McElroy and Clint.
I never actually listened to it.
Well, shout outs to them. I don't really care for their show now. Going back, I don't know how much I would like the Adventure Zone as much. They went very narrative. It seemed like the real sell of the Adventure Zone is that story that Griffin McElroy had written, and it came to a point where like it was like half D&D and half him telling the story, which is not a problem. It was a riveting story. I really enjoyed it, and a lot of twists and stuff. It was just at the end, it didn't seem like the players had much agency. But this is not a Taz, review show. I don't think I'd very much enjoy it then. Maybe I'm accused of railroading sometimes. I don't know. It's possible.
I don't know. I think it's kind of necessary whenever you have it in recorded form.
True.
Because otherwise, there's the possibility of getting off on a tangent, and it's just. I like the way yours is going. It's almost like a video game where there's a clear path to success.
Yeah.
And there's no questioning that. You can do what you want, but you're not going to get any further until you continue the main quest.
Right, sure. And I've tried to throw in a few side quests, a few things that you guys didn't have to do, and I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I can't
but
either.
we'll discover it eventually. But anyway, so I remember Josh saying, "Hey, we want to play D&D. We need to play D&D. We would all enjoy that." And I was like, "Well, I don't know, maybe." And he was like, "And we think you should be the DM." And I was like, I don't know how to play this game. And there was a toss-up or something in the beginning of me or Zenas being the DM for some reason. And you guys didn't know Zenas that well. I listened to the show, got hooked to the Adventure Zone, and I was like, I can do this. So I think I took the helm and did the DMing the first time.
I don't think you enjoyed it as much as...
This one?
Yeah.
I eventually got pretty stressed out about it. It wasn't not knowing how to DM. I mean, I'm not asking for like super critiques like, well, actually you suck. So you shouldn't do it anymore. Not having any experience with it, it became difficult. It was like, oh man, I really don't want to sit down and write that down, what they're going to do. I would much rather, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of like, because it's not in a video game, it's of course the same amount of work, or in a story. How about when you're writing a book? It's like the thing can only go one way because it's only going to go the way I write it. But with D&D, you've got to write a book that gives options no matter what they decide. Like, you gotta if they go into the tavern, there's got to be multiple people there, otherwise it feels stupid. And then like you can either there be one important person and the rest of them say like, I don't know, that guy in the corner looks pretty scary. Or you can like actually give the people stuff to say and actual problems and things like that, and that's something I need to work on, and I wish I had more time to work on this.
In our original campaign, Zenas like stole some stuff from a shop we were in.
He did?
Well, he used that mind thing to make the guy like not care that he was taking stuff off the shelves or whatever. But if anybody else had been in that shop at that time, they would have been like, hey, that guy's just taking stuff off your shelves, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's stuff we didn't really think about just because whenever you're playing the game, it's just you. You and your friends are the only people in this world until you have to talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's on a screen or anything and you can see that guy over there.
Right. But, so we did the DM thing. There's so many challenges to not knowing how to play this game and then trying to DM. We've never done, besides the beginning of the Minds of Phandelver, we've never done a module. We've never done anything that's prepared.
I'd love to try that, though.
I agree. I think that would be a lot of fun. It might turn us off from trying to make our own stuff. But to me, I find it easier to make my own stuff than rather like the idea of studying something that someone else made bums me out. I don't want to like just sit there and study something and it seems a little bit more complicated. I felt like I can make something a little more linear for us to try as a training wheels kind of thing. I like making my own world. I like that kind of thing. But I think a module would be cool. We don't know anything about that. And then we started out like, one thing about me is when I make a character, I'm like down the road, straight, one way. If I'm a fighter, I'm going to be a fighter all the way through. I'm not thinking about multi-classing or whatever. Because for me, my enjoyment a lot of times comes from the interactions. Like, I would have more fun like telling Brice's character off than I would have killing a goblin. You know, like I can go play God of War, which I'm playing now on twitch.tv/TaintMediaGames or youtube.com/TaintMediaGames. I can go play God of War and experience a lot more fun combat swinging an axe around. You know, I can do that. But what I can't do is make decisions in that game with my own mouth and have what I say impact what moves forward. So that's what I have fun with. But we have a lot of homebrew desires in our group as well, and it's hard to field those a lot of times. You don't know what's going to make someone overpowered and then make the game not so much fun.
It's not really like the abilities that'll be overpowered. Like, oh, you have 2 more strength than you should have. That's fine. That only equates to 1 point.
Right.
Whenever you're looking at modifiers, but then you find an item that doubles your strength or whatever, and now you have plus 12 to your strength modifier or whatever. It just, you never know what items are already in D&D that are going to cause changes, because there's tons of them. There's like a whole book of magic items,
and you can't foresee all those things.
There's so many topics, like so many subtopics that I want to get into.
I know, we started this with why do we play D&D, but we're just so let us know if you enjoy this kind of thing, and Brice and I will have more discussions. We might just have a fun one after we're done with this conversation. But right now, let's rein it back in for why do we play D&D and why have we kept going. So why do we play? Josh got turned on to it. He turned us on to it. We gave it a shot. We had a wonderful time. Great time. Had a great time playing the game. The game is fun. It is fun to hang out with your buddies, pretend to be other people, and kill stuff in the fantasy world and have a story. Also, for me, it allowed me to have a much closer relationship with my brothers and with Zenas as well. I'm always down for close relationships. I'm always down for that kind of thing. So I'm very thankful to D&D, and that's another reason why I play. I would call that probably at least 40% of why I want to keep playing D&D.
15.
1%. Brice,
only because I need you other people.
Yeah. I'd play it by myself. Brice, why are there any reasons that I didn't mention that you are into D&D, that you like doing this?
Because video games can't facilitate the stuff that I want to be able to do.
Sure.
Like, you play Skyrim and things like that, and the magic system in Skyrim is cool. You can cast 2 spells at one time. You can combine spells to make more powerful spells, things like that. But you can't, if the thing doesn't exist in the game, it doesn't exist. You can't make it exist unless you're like a modder or whatever. But even then, that's weeks of work for not much.
Right.
But in D&D, you can say it exists, and it does. If I wanted to find a spell that makes people blink rapidly, I could do that.
Yeah. Or if you have a kind DM, you can just make it so.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the really cool features. I really enjoy magic in that sense, like when it's part of the world. Like when you find ancient magic items and things that. Like we'll probably get into about stuff we were given by Garl.
Garl, it's a gold.
Yeah. And that's one of the main things I like. That plus the actual RP of it is my character is supposed to be kind of a more suave stealth. His class is swashbuckler, so he is a swashbuckler. And you can't do that in a video game. You can't taunt your enemies most of the time in most games like that. You can't shout around a corner, hey, that's what your mom said.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
You can't decide what they're gonna do. In a video game, if you're in the middle of a mission or something, you can open your inventory or you can do these sort of things, but you can't call back to your allies and say hey, what I think you should do is you should take this corner and do this, and then we'll enact you can't plan that way. You can choose an option.
Now, when they progress full immersion virtual reality to the point where you can do that in a video game,
the show will stop.
Yeah, no more Dungeons and Dragons. We're getting rid of that.
Yeah,
I'm getting me an immersion capsule, and I will be in that game 90% of my life.
Yes, I agree. It would be so cool to just complete full immersion fantasy world where you just get to go in there and play D&D, but you're experiencing it. That'd be super cool.
I kind of want to have a conversation on that at some point.
I don't want to live in that world though. Like I need that to be a single player game, because if there's too much depravity in the D&D community. Like our game is way tame. Yeah. We don't have a bard that has sex with dragons. Like we don't have
most of the time.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of stuff. And not because it's like a principle thing.
Had
it's
a couple
just
alcoholics in our other game.
Yeah, but it's just we just don't really. That's just not so funny to me. Like I play a bard in our other campaign, and like it just for me to have sex with everything as a character, that just feels weird. Like I don't. That's just not me.
You either get into the ha 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 that's so random kind of thing, or it's the you have some serious issues you're expressing virtually.
Good reasons to want to play, though, Brice. Good reasons.
Yeah.
Reasons we've kept going. Well, nobody stopped us. It's not so hard for us to do that we do it without reward, right? We do it without much feedback or really any feedback, but, we have fun doing it. Also, the recording and putting everything I do with creativity, I put myself on a schedule because it keeps me doing it. Like, if I just say, like, I want to make a D&D show, but whenever... it doesn't get made. But if I tell myself I want to make a D&D show and I will have an episode every week, and that needs to, barring unforeseen circumstances, because if you've listened to this, we've missed a week. But put myself on a schedule, and then it happens. If I put myself on a schedule for something fun, I'm a big fan of that. I'm on a schedule for, I've put myself on a schedule. I stream every weekday morning. It's fun. It's the most fun part of my day. Until I get home after work. I spend all day at work, not fun, don't enjoy it, but I get to start my day with something fun because I've scheduled myself to do that. So
the game doesn't Dungeons and Dragons, it doesn't record itself. You put in a lot of work on that.
Sure.
But I feel as though the time we spend doing it, and you also spend a lot of time on prep, like building the world that we'll eventually get to explaining.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a lot of fun. And it certainly shows that the world is prepared before we get to it, because things...
That's my hope.
Barring our personal mess ups, like as players throwing monkey wrenches into stuff that don't even make sense.
Yeah.
The world flows pretty smoothly. Like there's never I kind of forgot you had to... There was a transition between you're in this town and that town.
Right.
Let me make that up real quick.
If you've seen the meme where it's Homer Simpson, I believe, from the front, and he looks fine and his arms are out, his skin is perfectly, on his body, and then when it turns around, like there's all these like chip clips where his skin is pulled back tight so it doesn't look like his skin is droopy. Like you can see in the back of him, all his skin is like pulled together, and like these clips are barely holding his skin back there. That's what it feels like to be a DM of this campaign, because it's just like. Because I don't know how I don't know how you perceive it. Yeah. I don't know if you perceive it as being coherent or not, but I can see in my, like, all the wheels are turning in my head, like trying to remain thinking about what's going on, which leads to me making mistakes. But like I can see all the seams. It's the same way I look at any video I make. I've never put out a video on YouTube and been like, it's perfect. It was good. Because I know every seam, every clip I had to cut together and barely glue together, and I know where all the issues are, and that's what I see when I watch through it. That's what I'm experiencing whenever I'm giving you the world.
I think that comes with anything creative, though. Like when I make knives, I know every little nick and scratch that I accidentally got in the handle whenever I was putting it on, something like that. I know, hey, that piece of wood actually broke off when I was making it. I just glued it back in place. Nice. Nobody else can tell I did that, but I know I did that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I feel too, is that when you, like, if you were to look at it as a player, you might think, man, this world, there's no end to it and there's stuff everywhere. But, like, it's kind of like the video game where once you get behind the trees, you can see that maybe there isn't anything back there. But no one runs a campaign where just, like,
especially whenever you have to fix something, you feel like you've ruined everything. Like, whenever something goes, like, even the slightest bit wrong, you have to, like, play catch up with yourself to try and cover it up. you feel like, oh God, everybody saw that. This is going horribly wrong.
And then I think about it for 6 weeks.
Get stomach aches.
Yeah.
Cry a little bit.
Yeah. After every session, I cry a little bit.
Consider drinking.
To drown my sorrows.
In Diet Coke.
Yeah. Brice and I are both on the keto diet. We're both no carbonate, trying to lose a few pounds.
It is fantastic
for
weight loss, not for your health. It is very bad for your health.
Yeah, I was grilling. Lizzie and I are both doing it. I was grilling or making some hamburgers in a cast iron skillet and just like watching all that grease, just thinking like, well, we're both about to eat these. It'd probably take about a year off our life, but at least we'll be skinnier.
I've lost 30 pounds in the 7 weeks that
Very
I've been
impressive.
On the diet. It's good. I like it.
Very impressive, Brice. I have not. I just started this week, though. Okay, I think it's transition time. I think we can move into actually talking about this world of Mediene. You know why we play it, and the reason...
Hopefully. I think we covered that.
Yeah, synopsis of why we keep doing it is...
It brings us together.
It brings us together, and it's fun, and...
Nowhere else can you get that sort of entertainment.
Yes.
Video games can't facilitate it. You can get it a little bit from books and sometimes movies, but then you don't really have much choice in that either.
Yeah.
So
that's why we do it. Moving on. Clip, we're going to cut to our discussion. The world of Mediene. I would like to briefly explain to you if you are, which I can't imagine a world where this is your first introduction to anything we do and you've made it this far, but if it is, I'll explain the world a little bit. So, Dungeon Boys takes place in the world of Mediene. Everything we do so far has taken place in the world of Mediene. Well, maybe recently we left the world. Who knows? And then the one-off campaigns so far, I think most people are probably going to keep it in this world of Mediene. Doesn't matter if they do. It's not.
Mine's going to take place on like a tiny island that's unnamed and probably unknown.
And that's fine.
With a character that I hope you threw away and isn't important later on.
He's not.
Okay.
That's a character that was made up.
Okay.
Mostly.
Made up solely because I went into the kitchen.
Yeah. And that's another thing about D&D quickly is like you as a DM you do have to just be ready for that. Like you can't make everybody, and everybody knows that. And so whenever Brice is talking about a character named Pinkerton Toulouse.
Keith designed the mess hall, but a kitchen has to supply that mess hall. I don't think he was expecting me to go, hey, can I go help out in the kitchen?
That's something you can't do in a video game.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You cannot say, I'm a spy that stabs people. If I'm on a boat, can I go cut potatoes in the kitchen? Some video games will let you do that, but they probably tell you it's available. Like
maybe there's a potato on the counter as you're passing through and it says like press A to chop.
Yeah.
And then you go and continue walking.
But in that situation, yes, I did not expect anybody would want to enter. I did have in my brain like, there's a chef back there cooking, Yeah. But I never had in my mind that anybody would like want to go learn about him. And so Pinkerton Toulouse was born. But
I'm gonna have so much fun with that.
The world of Mediene. So the continent of Mediene is a setup of 4 or 5 fairly large islands. One big island called the mainland. There's an island to the north called Mediene's Crown. There's one to the east called the Isle of Flame because it looks like a flame. There's a big island to the south called the Round Isle, and then one to the southwest called... It looks like a skull, but I forget what it's...
Do we have the map in your box?
The map is on that table over there. I truly forgot what it's called, but there's a lot of cities that I've built on this world, and the one overarching thing in this world is that magic didn't exist. Isle Burin. It's the Isle Burin, but it looks like a skull. Thank you. Yeah, I'll look at the map a little bit while we do this. But I've created this world. One of the main things about this world is that magic did not exist in this world and the history of it throughout all time. It was just like a tribal, existence. People the races grew up. They created tribes, and it was kind of an evolution thing, and they figured out their places in the world. But eventually, at least based on the history that people provide, the gods saw fit to add magic to the world. They were like, okay, this world is established. Let's toss in something else and to see how it goes.
Now, the orcs, were they... I don't actually know this myself. Were they one of those tribal races?
No, I'll get to that I'll get to the orcs in just a second. The orcs are kind of special. So the gods throw in magic, and maybe unforeseen to them, magic causes quite a divide throughout the world. Of people who figure it out, they begin to put themselves ahead of people who didn't know how to use magic. And so that created this kind of class system where you're less than valuable if you don't use magic, don't know how to use magic. You are exceptionally valuable if you do. It just is these two classes of people that come out of that. Also, magic is very difficult to perform, at least in its original state. And so, the only way you're going to get good at magic is if you have the time and the resources to buy books and to study and to learn and to actually, if you have the wealth to
it's kind of like science.
That. Yeah. It's like you need a grant to do your researches and stuff like that. You're not going to be a homeless person that's good at magic, most likely, because either you, and that's the whole thing, is that we do have all the classes, like sorcerer and warlock and stuff. I haven't limited that. I've limited a few races, but we have all the classes. So warlocks get their magic in a different way, and sorcerers get their magic in a different way. But wizards see themselves as the creme de la creme. We got our magic the right way. We studied. We earned this. We're rich. So most of the time, your highest ranked people are wizards. They look down on everybody mostly. They look down on sorcerers because, you just got your magic because of your family. You didn't earn it. They look down on warlocks because they're like whores of the magic world, like you sold your soul to get this magic.
That's me.
Yeah, and they look down on they look down on druids a little bit too, because the druids, they draw their power from nature. They don't. They're
not from their mind.
Yeah, druids, I'm sure, study and everything in the world, but just wizards are at this point where they're more powerful than most people because they have the resources to study and hold things together, and they kind of look down on everybody. But it's kind of a flowing scale. Like anybody who can use magic, these warlocks, sorcerers, druids probably also look at people who can't. Most of them. Arlo doesn't. He's a druid. He's a kindly fellow. Probably brought on by the fact that he was an orphan, so he had his own issues. But magic users look down on people who can't use magic, and the world reflects that. The world is governed by a 10-member high council that lives in the capital city of Harmony, which I named to be ironic because the world is not in harmony. We're learning that the world is kind of built on this balance, and the balance has been thrown off a little bit by a high council that eventually has created itself to be made of 10 wizards. At one point, the high council was formed by the tribes people. Yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert. There's 9 now. But it's made up of 10 wizards. It used to be kind of we might have a human person in there, and might have an elf, and might have dwarf, and different races, and also different classes of people who make up the high council. But the high council has gotten greedy with magic. They've walled themselves off, and they have made it to where they're all wizards. So, go ahead.
So this whole time I was thinking they were all human, just because I was thinking I was thinking in terms of our world, but I take it there's no real racism. It's more classism.
There's some racism. The gnomes tend to be have a propensity for being slaves. They're small size, and if they can't defend themselves, they end up being slaves a little bit in this world. Yeah. There is some racism. People don't like orcs mostly, just because of where they came from, which I'll explain shortly. But no, the council is not all human.
Okay.
There's some non-human ones there, but the council has been 10 wizards for a while now. And which leads me to what's going on in the world is that the 10 wizards, the High Council, has begun what is called the culling something. It was like a legislation. They made it legal for them to come into almost on a weekly basis to settlements and pull people from that settlement. They send the military there, and 5 or 6 people from a town might get pulled up. Mostly strong men are pulled up and taken off in a cart under the guise of you're going to work for the government. We've got projects that need to be done. We've got to improve the life for the citizens in this world, so we got to take you. We'll bring you back eventually, is usually the way the cullings work. But as you can probably imagine, most people don't like that. They're not told where their husbands and fathers are being taken, and so the culling thing is causing a lot of issues. But we learn as well that the cullings are not a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's essentially slavery. It's eventually also not mostly, but sometimes extermination of people who can't use magic. The only people who are taken up are people who can't use magic. It's from poorer families. They're not taking anybody who's wealthy. So they're doing that. The people who are acting out that process is the Continental Army. It is the council's own proprietary military force. They didn't always have a military force. This is a new thing that the Council of 10 Wizards has produced. The council did not always have their own proprietary army, but now they do, because they sent, at least what people know is that they sent a wizard to Isle Burin to try to figure out how to produce an army for them that would not have its own way of thinking. Like kind of a robotic, do what we say because you're hungry for blood, you're bloodthirsty, without emotion. So he comes back with the first orc. He says, I've created this race of creatures, strong, no emotion, does what you tell it to do. Dumb, yeah. And so he begins production of the orcs, very Saruman style from Lord of the Rings. And so then we have this Continental Army. But that process doesn't work every time. I know this is a long explanation to get us set up.
I'm not yawning because of that. Yeah. I'm yawning because I got up at 5 o'clock this morning.
I agree. I'm with you. But that process doesn't work every time. So there are orcs in the world that aren't part of the army. The process of creating a being devoid of emotion and devoid of its own agency doesn't always work. So sometimes the process spits out an orc that may be kind. And has its own, will and desires or whatever. They don't kill those; they just send them out into the world. That's one kindness that the council has done, I guess. I don't know if it's under the guise of being, or under the claim of being kind, but they're not murdering these things. They send them out into the world to, be and do.
Yeah.
So that's where we get some orcs in the world, which is where I'm going to play.
Live and let do.
Yeah, live and let do, baby. So what is happening ever since the council, almost measurably, ever since the council has become 10 wizards, ever since they have begun doing this, it is palpable that things have been going weird in the world. Where there didn't used to be a ton of magical creatures that would attack and be hostile towards other, I want to say humans, but they're more, other beings.
I get caught in that a lot. Like, you can't really say humanity. Yeah. It's not all humans. You can't say every man, woman, and child. Right. Not everybody is man. Good Lord. Yeah. That was bad.
Man, woman, or child.
Yeah. You can't say everybody, like, he's just a man, he does this. You got to say he's just an elf or he's just an orc.
Yeah.
We're all just human beings, man.
It's very difficult. But ever since the council has started, doing the cullings and doing these kind of things and messing around, making orcs, creating a new race and all this stuff, things have been going wonky in the world. Creatures are more hostile. There are creatures that we never knew existed that you guys met in some of the most recent episodes. There are
creatures from another world.
There's more violence. The world just seems to be almost reacting to what's going on that this council is doing. They're throwing things off, and the world seems to be reacting to that. And for the sake of the world reacting to that, and because the world is reacting, one way it's reacting is there is a resistance that is forming against this council. They have seen the evils of it. Some of them actually know their motives. The leader of this resistance actually has been close to the council, if not in the council before, and they know what they're trying to do within a little bit, or know at least the beginning plans of what the council is trying to do. And so they've created a resistance called the Servants of the Scale. And that is something that is secret. Not everybody knows about that. We'll learn about that shortly.
We also, as far as I know, we did not know that was a Wizards of the Coast thing already.
Yeah, did not know that. I did not know the Servants of the Scale was the thing.
I started playing Magic the Gathering a couple months back, like 6 months ago probably. And I opened a pack of random cards, and the card on top of this first pack I ever opened was one guy called the Servant of the Scale.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like Keith's D&D thing. Oh, wait. These are both made by Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. Did Keith steal this?
Yeah. No, I truly did not know I was stealing that. I had never heard of that before. But they also do kind of the same thing. It's like almost this, I've just created the same exact thing that name kind of makes sense. But, yeah.
We serve the balance.
We serve the balance of the world. So that organization exists, but nobody knows about it. It's not a public eye thing. It's not like, hey, look, there's the resistance fighting off, because it's very small at this point. Our campaign begins in this turmoil. Our campaign begins on the island of Lonesome, which again, I like naming things with meaning. Like the city's name is Lonesome because it's the only city on the Isle of Flame.
Yeah.
I just like naming things like that.
People get into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They eat it up.
Yeah. I hope eat up my lore. Devour my lore. There's plenty of it.
Get some lore down your neck. And
is so the really sinking your teeth into creating a world is a lot of fun. Like, you start asking questions.
You need to write a book.
I do want to write a book. It'll be fun. I think I might write a book in this world, but we'll see.
That'd be cool.
That's why I'm not playing Oak Prime. I don't want to sully him with me not doing him justice.
Yeah. Until you can write him.
The world hates Rangers.
Injusticely.
Yeah, I can do him an injustice. But our campaign begins there. And our campaign begins with the 3 dungeon boys. They have enrolled in the Lonesome Investigative Department, the LID, which has been created kind of to investigate they're kind of like law enforcement in the city, more like a detective agency. The city has its own guards, but the LID is more of investigating these weird things that have been going on ever since the council has been doing their thing. It's still a government agency. They're not saying, hey, the council is goofing, we need to figure it out. But that's their kind of their thing, and also their LID. They're keeping a lid on some things. Another naming thing.
Was that intentional or just a happy accident?
No, it was intentional.
All right.
So that's where our thing begins, and that's where our characters meet one another. And so then we can kind of start our story recap, which, if we wanted it to, could probably take 6 hours, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think I'm going to give you any interlude music, but I do have to pee, so we're gonna experience a brief cut here.
Dun, 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 dun.
So we'll be right back in maybe a second or maybe a brief interlude. And we are back from a brief cut. I had to pee. Brice had to pee. Oop.
Oop.
Oh, you don't need to know that, though. But we're back. We are in the world of Mediene. Waking up early is really starting to hit me. I feel like I'm going to fall asleep. But we are going to kind of recap the story. Well, really, Brice is going to do a lot of recapping. And I'm going to try to listen and confirm. And
Keith handled most of the lore because he's more familiar with the world since he
built it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Brice, we're at the LID, the Lonesome Investigative Department. You, a tall, thin.
Yeah, you're gonna have to help me out with some stuff.
I know.
So I'm gonna go ahead and explain my character.
Yeah, good idea.
Excuse
me, I belched.
So he's based on a lot of other characters that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
His demeanor is supposed to be, I don't know if you've all seen the movie Ratatouille, But the guy, the reviewer, what's it called? The food critic,
yeah.
Anton Ego. That is supposed to be like his main, like the way he carries himself. Always walks slowly, smoothly, things like that. He's a very controlled person. As far as personality goes, he's supposed to be very kind and like generous, but he just looks really creepy and nobody wants to really talk to him.
Okay.
But like Jack loves kids and he likes talking to people and stuff like that. Just nobody wants to do that.
Because he looks very particular. Very
creepy.
What does he look like?
He is a tall, thin, lanky elf boy. He has long black hair, and he has like the two little fantasy style, like the little front braid things that go just down in front of the ears or whatever.
The Jewish style.
Kinda, yeah. But it's like 3 of them on either side, though.
Okay.
And he wears a hat, and it's like I don't even know what kind of hat that is. It's the one you always see like the plague doctors wear.
Okay.
It's not quite a top hat. It like
a squished down top hat.
Yeah, it like flares out towards the top of the top hat, and it's kind of short and squat. He also wears a plague mask. Over
big long nose mask.
Yeah, like the beak thing, but it doesn't cover his whole face. It just covers his nose, and it comes down over his mouth, so you can't see his mouth, but it's not actually inside the mask. The mask is kind of like crescent moon shaped. If you imagine like the U kind of points down.
Sure.
Anyway, so he doesn't have to take the mask off to eat is basically the thought behind that. The mask is to protect him from the smell of blood whenever he is in combat.
Yeah.
Because of the Cullings, his wife was actually taken, and she resisted, and he tried to save her, and the orcs decided that it was too much trouble, so they just killed her right there in front of him. And he kind of broke down at that point. And after that, a secondary personality kind of started to emerge, which is based on like Jack the Ripper, basically. So that's another point of inspiration that I got for that. He hunts down orcs that are like stationed in towns and stuff, and like lures them into alleys and butchers them.
Because that's his occupation.
Yeah, he was a butcher. Him and his wife owned a butcher shop, and she actually died like inside the shop.
Kind of ruined it for him.
Yeah. So he closed the shop. He kind of retired her knife, and he's been keeping up the family business just by butchering orcs in the middle of the street.
But he's not been selling them.
No. He doesn't really, he hasn't like communicated with this other personality. It's not like they know each other, but after about the 3rd or 4th time waking up in a pool of blood, he kind of figured out, hey,
something's going on.
Maybe this isn't. Yeah. Maybe that wasn't a dream.
Sure.
Kind of deal. So yeah, Jack is based on lots of other people.
And I think we canonically said what brought him to try to enroll and be part of the Lonesome Investigative Department was just to get closer to more orcs to kill. Or like to, maybe try to help something if he knew he was killing.
That and kind of dissuade people from looking at him because he's a upstanding lawman and stuff like that. Sure. Let's see. Also, this will come up in season 2, but we will find out that the judge, while he was fairly dormant, he's always been a part of Jack. He was not created by that horrible event. Jack has always had like a secret little crazy side. And the judge just kind of emerged. Oh, that's the name of the second personality. Yep. I forgot to mention that. So it's Jack Law and the judge, because I also like wordplay.
Sure.
So Jack is protected by the judge, more or less. The judge is the second personality that's completely insane, and his only purpose in life is to kill orcs and to protect Jack. If there is a threat to Jack, which he senses by the smell of blood, he emerges and he kills everything in sight that could possibly harm Jack.
Nice. And that's really why Josh and Brice aren't here, or Josh and Zenas aren't here, because you killed them.
Yeah, and it's also like an emotional protection too. Like he doesn't want Jack watching him butcher other humanoid creatures. So, the judge actually uses a warlock ability called what's it called? Ghostly gaze, where he can see through solid objects.
Ooh.
So he actually wears a blindfold, so Jack can't see because he's not a warlock, but he can see.
Nice.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And so Jack is spared of all that kind of stuff. And that was the other thing. The judge is a warlock hexblade. If you know anything about the hexblade, the person who carries the hexblade is considered like that. The hexblade is like a demon infused blade, and the wielder of that blade is considered to be like its champion. Not all hexblades carry the actual hexblade. Some of them are just more like minions. Jack is kind of like a minion, but the judge actually carries the real hexblade, which is the true like patron or whatever. And it's the same cleaver, but it along with the judge personality goes dormant whenever it's just Jack there. But as the judge emerges, so does the hexblade. So that's my character.
There's a lot of lore.
Yeah.
For Jack.
I spent a lot of time making him.
Yeah.
And he is bar none my favorite character I've ever built.
Yep. We'll briefly explain Zenas and Josh's characters. We won't do them as much justice as they would. I don't want to miss anything, but also I don't want to go too deep and get something wrong. Zenas plays an Aasimar grave cleric named
Thaddeus
Grim.
Baker.
Yeah, his name's Thaddeus Baker, but he calls himself Grim. He is called Grim. He's a grave cleric, so death is his domain. Zenas also wanted to be, instead of carrying a weapon as a cleric, he wanted to punch things. And so we allowed him kind of homebrew like a punching style where he punches with necrotic damage. So that's pretty cool. He comes from a fairly wealthy family in Lonesome. And
his father's a paladin, correct?
Yes, his father's a paladin. I forget what his mother did. But it was
still
something.
Counted amongst the mage class, basically.
Yes, they're upper class. They're counted amongst the mage people, kinda. Grim has always had a fascination with death. And he's an Aasimar, which is a race that I didn't know existed before we made the campaign, before I made the world. But he told me he wanted to be an Aasimar, so I've worked that kind of into the fabric of this world that we've created. So Grim is special in a way. Grim is not chosen one special. But Grim does have a special connection with this world that will become more evident in the future. But I don't want to spend too much time on either of them just because I don't want to say stuff that they would not sanction. But
I can do Arlo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Arlo is a redneck gnome, basically. He was orphaned, but he was taken in by a dwarf druid named Briar, who was a big old fat dwarf that liked trees.
We had a lot of fun with his fatness.
Yeah, we had lots of earthquake stomping fun with Briar. I just said his name. There we go. So his main thing is he loves books. He's only just learning to read because Jack has been teaching him, but he thinks that he can learn more about the world and be more prepared for things if he reads lots of books.
Also, books are real valuable in this world.
Yeah, that's something like mages have books because books is where they learn and study for their magics, things like that. And it is not something that the common folk are allowed to have. Yeah. But we procure them in different ways, steal them. Mostly steal them. And he has a hat that lets him store books as if it was a bag of holding. It only holds books. And we had to help. We'll explain more of this as we get into the story itself, but we had to help him find his teacher Briar, which was one of his other main goals. And we were able to find him and save him from a situation we will also get into in a minute.
Yeah, so real quickly about Zenas' character, Grim. Grim he likes to act. He's a big fan of, like, I will call it justice. He likes to help people,
Grim
I think.
justice.
Yeah, he's okay with killing bad people. He doesn't like bad things to happen, I think.
Devil May Cry, Punisher, sort of.
Kind of.
Yeah. Violent, deadly justice.
So that is why he decided to become a part of the Lonesome Investigative Department. He didn't want to necessarily hang out and be rich with his family. He wanted to, go and help people and or keep wrongs from happening, I think. And then Arlo's reason for becoming part of the LID is that he was supposed to meet Briar in Lonesome, but Briar never showed up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And so he went and...
Arlo is also all about preservation of life when possible. Yes. He's very much a support type character, even though he's probably the strongest amongst us.
Now, certainly after all the leveling, he's can turn into a dang giant eagle, die, and then turn into something else. Yeah. But that's the characters, and if you have questions about the characters, hit us up and we'll let you know. But now the story begins. You're in the Lonesome Investigative Department. You get the briefings from Corgus Bach, the leader of the LID.
Ooh, I forgot about all this. We were tasked with checking out a strange occurrences in a logging camp, correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was the first thing?
Yeah.
So we went out there, and we had the quintessential goblin encounter that every single D&D campaign must start with.
That was also kind of a cheeky, I know that kind of thing as well.
Because they didn't have anything to do with the strange occurrences. They were just there.
Yeah.
But it introduced us to, like, this is our first time playing these characters. That was the first time we entered combat and we understood what our characters were capable of. Josh, playing as Arlo, was using, like, distraction magics and stuff like that. Zenas was punching stuff.
Yeah.
And I was sneaking.
And it worked.
Yep. We wiped out the goblins. We went back and reported. We were like, well, we did it. We got rid of all the goblins. And then they were like, oh, that wasn't the problem.
Yeah, they were just a separate problem for the logging camp.
So we also discovered more into our characters about our investigative abilities. We were able to pick up a trail that seemed kind of odd that led off to a cave.
Yep.
We dispatched some spiders while we were in there.
Because the reason we're shaping up to have quite a long recap.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in this stuff. I made it, I guess, which would mean I'm interested in it. But the main occurrences was that logging workers were disappearing.
Yeah, but they were also reappearing and acting strangely.
Yeah, they would disappear, reappear, and act strangely, then disappear for good.
Yeah.
So that's the investigation. Sorry.
We found some drag marks that led back to this cave where the most recent victim apparently had gone.
Yep.
And we got in there and we found a couple spiders.
Yes.
And we were able to dispatch them. And
barely.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack is the only one that would have survived that encounter.
Two of them got paralyzed. Arlo and Grim got paralyzed.
We found what appeared to be like a little camp thing. There was some like personal belongings of a lot of the people who died. There was a dead body, and I believe, if I remember correctly, there was a half-dead one.
There's a person spoke to you in there.
Yeah. I don't remember what the conversation was.
The conversation, he explained...
They stole my face or whatever.
Yeah, he was confused and stuff, but he explained that, like, they stole my face, they stole my identity or whatever, and left me here and stole my stuff. And
so we found out that the creatures causing this issue were actually changelings.
Doppelgangers. I think is what they call them in D&D.
Well, there's changelings and doppelgangers.
Okay. These were then. So if we're going to get specific, I use doppelgangers for these.
Okay. So we found they were doppelgangers, and when we had originally gone through the middle of the cave, we encountered 4 spiders, but 2 of them crawled away, and we didn't have to fight them. We were like, yay! So they're gone. And then as we were leaving, we asked, "What do they look like now?" He said, "Last thing I saw them turned into was a couple of spiders." So we realized, oh poop. That must have been them.
Missed them.
So I ran to the camp and grabbed an antidote and brought it back.
Yeah.
It took so long to get the antidote, they were waking up as I brought it back to them.
Right.
So then we went into town, and
I do want to point out one other thing that was in that cave. I won't call it important, but I will call it connected to thing. I mean, you don't know how it's necessarily connected.
I totally tuned that out because I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. So underneath in the cave, there's a trap door in the top of it. So the cave is like completely round on the bottom. There's a trap door in the top. They went down in the trap door, and it was like they went in, and there were two beings that were not any sort of race that they had ever seen before. They had like 2 arms, and they were really tall, and they were wearing some armor, or 4 arms. They had 4 arms. They were really tall, and they had like weapons that were kind of familiar. They were like hammers, but they didn't look like hammers that you would normally see. And there was a note that had like names that they had never heard of, and like explained that they had the mirror. They were looking for a mirror or whatever.
Either Grim or Jack still has that note. I think I have.
Yeah.
I also have a manifest of like inventory.
Shoot, was there a name on that note?
I think so.
Originally, I think it was Simon. I don't think we discussed it. It was supposed to be the same Simon treasure tracker. I think is the one who left the note there. I think it's what I meant for it to be, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, they were looking for something in this, or there was a note that said we hid the mirror, because the original note said like we dropped this mirror, and then like now we're in this other place, and they hid it down in the bottom of this tower. So essentially, there's just this tower inside the earth. Yeah. There's this tower that just appeared underneath the ground, and Grim took a hammer from them, but other than that we still don't know why that was there.
Kept that hammer. He ended up selling it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to derail us with stuff like that too much, but it was something that's interesting that maybe there might even be enough pieces by now to kind of piece together what maybe might have put that there. But went back to town.
Yeah, we went back to town and we investigated. I'm saying investigated a lot. Okay. We questioned some of the people whose husbands had been taken by these creatures, and we talked to them like, yeah, they were acting weird. Yeah, they all like to gamble at this place. Mm-hmm. So we got did we get the password from these people, or I don't remember.
I think you got the password from the guy I think the guy told you in the cave that they gamble. I don't think the wives knew about the gambling, and I think he's the one who gave you the password to get in, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So then we went to the
casino.
Yeah, it was something to do with a tree. It was like the maple or something.
Yeah. What was it?
What, the malted maple?
No, the malted maple. Oh man, it'll come to us. Isn't important. The name of the casino isn't important.
So then we gave the password to the bartender, which was, we haven't the coin, but we've got the gumption.
Yeah.
And Zenas did not want to say that for some reason, so he was very unhappy with having to say that. And we went to the back wall, and he was like, "Go on through," and we were like, "Go on through where?" And we just ended up walking straight through the brick wall because it was an illusion. Mm-hmm. And there's a casino behind the inn.
Still to date, one of my favorite experiences for the campaign.
So we got in there, and that is where we met our companion Burb.
Yeah.
I won him in a game of poker.
Yep. And he was a Kinku slave.
I was like, yeah, I'm all about freeing a slave, but I don't really want a Kinku slave, so I just kind of gave him to Josh to deal with because he's the animal guy. Yeah. And while we were there, we were on the lookout for people. We were told that the doppelgangers act very childishly, so we had to look for people who were acting childish. And one of them was I think it was a female. She was gambling on the frog match. And
there was a frog race.
Yeah.
gamble thing.
She lost and she like started freaking out and yelling and stuff like that. So she was kind of marked as a target. Mm-hmm. And then Zenas actually fought the other one.
Yeah, because there's inside the thing there was like
slip there.
in the middle of the room there were several card tables.
Yeah.
On the right side there was a frog race. On the left side there was a boxing ring for gambling.
So Zenas fought this other one named Fatty, right?
Yeah. He fought his way up to the champion in the boxing match, and his name was Fatty. He was just a big old fat man.
He cheated, and Jack lost a lot of money because he bet on Fatty. Because he knew he was going to lose. And then Josh helped him out. And I've had that same amount of money that I won from the first match this whole time.
Really? The economy might be a little jacked up in our game.
Yeah. This isn't like video game quests where you get to the end and they're like, here's your reward.
Yeah.
So we eventually were able to get them all to go outside, and we murdered them in the courtyard.
So the way you got them to go outside is like you grabbed one, like you were like, "Hey, we found you" or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you did, like they ran outside, and which was my way of saying, "Hey, maybe we trying to get them to where this fight didn't take place in the middle of a casino with all these different people. Like this is the beginning." So in this courtyard,
Fatty followed us out.
Yeah.
After he had kind of recuperated from his fight.
Mm-hmm. And then they turned into doppelgangers, and then you guys killed them.
Yeah. We reported back to Corgus.
Yep.
And he said, "Good job.
You passed the test, essentially. Yeah. You're now in the Lonesome Investigative Department."
And is this the point where he inducted us?
I think so. I think the reason that he's okay with... So, yes, it's revealed at this point that Corgus Bach is actually a high up in the Servants of the Scale. He reveals that there is an organization called the Servants of the Scale that's trying to right the balance that's been wronged by the High Council. And the reason that he's okay with that is because the lady who runs the casino, her pseudonym is Betty, because she runs a casino. That's not her real name, but the party has not learned it. She witnessed your prowess. She witnessed the way you handled yourselves in this situation,
hiding behind the fountain.
And she was impressed. So she said, they seem to be good for, we need people like this for our organization, because she was also a servant. She's also a servant of the Scale. And so she told Corgus inducted you. He gave you, on your Lonesome Investigative Department badges, he gave you the insignia of the Servants of the Scale. And, Burb comes with you and everything, and then he says,
forget about that.
Now that you are a servant of the Scale, or no, so he doesn't give you the symbol there. That's the test. So, first of all, that was your first case. He says, this is an organization called the Servants of the Scale. We think we can trust you, but we need to know for sure. We need you to do something to prove yourself.
Definitely shouldn't have given us those badges after what we did.
Yeah. You guys had a big goof up.
Yeah.
Which really honestly, was a big driving force behind the rest of the campaign. Like, I didn't necessarily plan for you to do one thing or the other in that situation. So, Brice, again, I've drunk so much water. Why don't you just prime them with the listeners with what happened next, and I will be right back.
Real quick, we were being chased through the streets. Was that...
That's after.
Okay.
That's
what I thought.
After the events of the manor.
I didn't think anything happened with the law coming from the casino.
No, yeah. You were good to go with the casino.
All right. I'll continue explaining.
Yes, please.
So, Corgus tells us that a family who is very important to the Servants of the Scale has gone missing. They were... Keith will tell you the name of them. I've kind of forgotten it at this point. It's the... I don't know. Anyway, they were supposed to be coming to Lonesome, but they disappeared somewhere along the way, and he believes that the constable has something to do with their going missing. So we go to Ronald Witherbranch's estate, and we sneak into this party that's going on that he has. And when we get in there, we manage to make our way down to the basement, and we find that there's a bunch of cages and stuff filled with animals, like magic creatures and rare beasts and things like that, because Ronald Witherbranch has a thing for eating like exotic animals and having exotic pets and things like that, and he's big into hunting. But in one of the cages, there wasn't a beast, rather a small family, whose last name is
Fullheart.
Fullheart, the Fullheart family.
Yeah.
And we set them free, and we were like, all right, let's get out of here. And Zenas, Grim, goes to shake the hand of the little girl, and as soon as they touch hands, they have like this weird moment, and the whole family disappears into the eye of the little girl's teddy bear.
Yeah, so the weird moment, to describe it, so Grim touches this little girl's hand, like both, like her eyes go completely white and his go completely black. And like for a very brief second, they like, you know, are the two of them are caught up in this swirling gray. I picture it the same way in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, where Peter Quill grabs the Infinity Stone and everything begins to swirl, like all that smoke and stuff. It's kind of like that. It's like a gray swirling kind of smoke around them, where you can just see everywhere in all directions, yet nowhere at the same time. And there's like kind of blue lightning and stuff flashing around them as they like lock hands for a second. And then Grim undergoes his transformation, his like necrotic shroud thing. Like he gains these wings and stuff that make him look all scary for his race. So he gains that ability, but it reveals that there's something goofy going on with them that's kind of the same.
And this black substance that was in the teddy bear's eyes.
Correct.
And on his necktie
yeah, he
pin.
wears a tie, and he has a necktie pin that has a black stone in it, just an obsidian stone. And yes, the teddy bear's eyes are also made of the same obsidian stone. And exactly as Brice said, after that happened, so what you guys saw was what Jack and Arlo saw, it was immediately, essentially, they touched hands, something weird happened, then they disappeared.
We didn't see that otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a Grim and Justine thing. And Grim saw her, like, slowly take her hand out of his hand and turn and walk to her family and, like, grab them, and then they all sucked into the teddy bear's eyes and disappeared.
And the teddy bear sucked itself into its own eyes.
Yeah. Then they were alone.
So, from there...
Did you tell him about the rock from the desk? Or
No,
have you gotten there yet?
I thought that came after.
That might be on the way out.
I think it is, because I ran through there to get out.
Yeah.
So we go out of this room, and as we're leaving, we run into none other than Ronald Witherbranch. And he's all Big Daddy LaBeouf from Princess and the Frog sounding. That's what I picture him looking like, too.
Sure.
And he says, well, now that you've seen what I got down here, I can't let y'all leave, can I? And we begin to have combat.
Yes. Which...
Probably one of our most hiccup-filled combat encounters thus far.
Oh, yeah. God, with the basement door and the...
two staircases in there.
And the spatial area.
And everybody said the staircase, no matter which one they were going up. So Keith was totally confused. Yeah. Josh was totally confused. Yeah,
that was one of our first...
I got it totally right by accident.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize there was a second staircase.
Yeah. I frequently get exasperated. A quick way to... I get bothered. I'm not angry. It's just like... It's because we're recording a show and you want it to be smooth. And so when it's not smooth, it's like, oh man, that's frustrating. And then, like, I just don't like feeling like I'm trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to make a good show, and so I get defensive over that, and that's my problem.
And Keith is filled with this roiling, nervous energy that every time something goes a little bit wrong, it consumes his entire body.
Yeah. I get sucked into the gray world.
Now, there was something I forgot.
Okay.
Going into the estate, now, Zenas and Arlo actually snuck in via... What word should I use here? They portrayed themselves as actual partygoers, and Zenas...
Arlo went in as a frog.
That's what I'm getting there.
Okay, gotcha.
So Zenas wanted to sell his giant pet frog, which is what Arlo was, but he didn't want to sell it for money. He wanted to sell it for an invitation to this party. So Ronald Witherbranch was like, "Sure, come on in.
I love big animals.
I'll take that frog off your hands." The frog had a funny name. I can't remember it this time. It was like Mr. something.
Why can't we remember any of this?
Because it was like a year ago. Oh, something Froggins.
Yeah, Walter Froggins.
Walter Froggins, yeah. So Walter Froggins went with his stable boy, and they put him in the stable, and it's actually an elevator that took him down to that same room where the full hearts were. I snuck in via sneaking. I found a symbol on the outside of the wall where it was like...
and that's the last time you used your Thieves' Cant skill?
Yeah, the Thieves' Cant skill showed me a symbol that said, "Hey, this is a good place to climb up this wall." And I looked and I was like, "Oh, yeah, it is. There's some good footholds."
Do you think I had that there before you asked?
No.
Absolutely, you're correct.
So I got over the wall. Me and Burb, actually, both went over the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of coin throwing at this point.
Yeah.
Like...
very video game.
Yeah. So I'd sneak around a corner, see a guard throw a coin. Guard would go investigate said coin. I'd sneak into the door.
Brice was playing Dishonored for a minute.
So I got in there. I really want to play that game. I've never actually played it.
You should play it. You'd like it.
So I got in there, and there's 2 staircases again. One goes down, one goes up. I went up to begin with, and I found Ronald Witherbranch's room, and there was a special staff in there, and it looked very much like Arlo's hat in lots of ways as far as the style goes. So I was like, maybe this is that Briar dude staff. So I took it, and I gave it to Arlo. And it turned out that was indeed Briar's staff. I'm actually planning to recreate that staff in a real-life version.
Sure.
So
Brice
look forward to that.
We also have a cleaver that we still we'd
Jack's
love to
cleaver.
give away if you guys would subscribe to our YouTube channel and hang out on this podcast.
Jack's cleaver. I made a real-life version of it. It's very sharp. It's an actual meat cleaver.
Very cool.
It's not a prop. It's an actual meat cleaver, but it's just what I pictured Jack's cleaver looking like. So yeah, combat ensues downstairs, and we all run upstairs to leave.
After a lot of difficulty.
Yeah. So Ronald Witherbranch, I guess he was kind of losing a little bit, not entirely. He was on the ropes.
He was on the ropes, and one thing about Dungeon Boys is when it counts for enemies, they just goof.
Yeah.
Like when it counts, they will roll so poorly. Like they may be the biggest, baddest enemy that I've ever given them, and like it'll be like Nat 1 City.
Yeah.
And they're just, the party just looks like they just got big old wieners just flying around, like can't be touched.
Testicles like watermelons.
Yeah.
So Ronald Witherbranch runs out of this basement area and into the manor through the staircase towards the back of the room.
That leads to his office.
Yeah.
Secretly.
Yeah. So there was actually a whole other, like, there was this big metal box that we never were able to open. It was
I can tell you what that is. It's not story related.
I picture it being like walk-in freezer-sized big metal box. Yeah. I think you already told us. It was like a room where he had like conferences and stuff.
Yeah, it was a room with that when like high officials would come and like they'd have meetings and stuff. It like negates all magic and you can't surveil in there. It's just a cool magic box that they go in for meetings.
So they all run up the stairs after Ronald into the party area, and Arlo, maybe both Arlo and I. No, I told Arlo about the book that was in his room, and Arlo goes up through the room and steals his book that was about animals, because he's a druid. He wants to study all the animals that he can possibly turn into. Zenas and I follow, or Grim and I follow Ronald through his office, and Grim continues out of the office in pursuit of Ronald through the party. I stay behind in his office, and I see a strange black rock, which reminds me a lot of some teddy bear eyes I had recently seen eat people. So I took it and put it in my little bag and continued out into the party, where I found Grim's dad, Brunner Baker, and we're standing there watching his son beat in the skull of a councilman's brother. Not just
beat him to death, but like push his fist, I believe, through the man's face.
Yeah, or his chest, one or the other.
Yeah, something gruesome.
Yeah, dissolving him with necrotic powers too. He was transformed at this point as well.
Yes, he was a big, scary, like, bat creature.
So while speaking to Brunner Baker, he says, "Is that my son?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "I didn't think they went through with it," or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think he was talking about the little girl more than he was talking about Grim. I'm not entirely certain how all that works.
Yeah. Because
Did
you tell him what happened downstairs?
Yeah, I told him about the little girl and all that.
Yeah, he knows a little bit about the nature of her.
Yeah. But he didn't explain any further than that.
No.
And a lot of stuff happened at this point. Josh was a spider on the outside of the building.
Yeah, we don't have to go into all of that.
So, long story short, we've killed the constable, we freed the family, we've done our job, and we've done poorly.
Yeah. You've killed essentially the governor of an island.
Yeah. So Josh transforms into a horse, and we all get on him
and gallop away.
Ride through the streets, avoiding guards and things like that. We pick up Burb on the way out because Burb was just absolutely amazing while I was sneaking into the party.
Yeah, it was humorous because you snuck in with Burb, and then Burb ran out at a certain point. And so Burb wasn't a part of the situation in the manor with the fight. No. Burb was waiting outside, and we always make jokes about what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because whenever he walked back up to you and you guys were figuring out right before you ran off, Josh asked Burb, like, what have you been doing or whatever.
And he was like walking away from a bunch of kids that were like praising him and like cheering his name.
Yes,
and stuff.
Because when Josh asked, I rolled a D20 to see how he had done, to see what kind of stuff had happened to him. I rolled a nat 20. Good things happened to him.
He had a big old sack of gold.
That's when a big old sack of gold appeared on his waist. So yeah.
And a new cloak or something like that too.
You guys were with him when he bought the new cloak.
He stole one from somewhere.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
Or he tried to, and then we ended up buying him one. God,
we don't talk about it, but Bird wears a white cloak.
Yeah, I picture him looking like Moon Knight from Marvel. I don't know. Most people don't know who that is.
I don't.
I'll show you a picture of him later.
He looks like Ezio Auditore.
That'll work.
From Assassin's Creed.
So yeah, we gallop back to the Lonesome Investigative Department's headquarters, to what is also the Servants of the Scale branch's headquarters there in Lonesome, and we talk to Corgus, and he's like, "Well, y'all effed up, but you did it right. You effed up goodly."
Well, yeah, it's essentially, I think his motivation is you royally, screwed up, but it seemed like you did what we wanted you to do. Like you were trying to be trustworthy. You just failed.
And we explained that, the full hearts were there. They disappeared into a teddy bear. He was like, okay. And then he takes our badges from us, and we're like, oh no, we're getting our badges taken. And he puts them under his desk, and he like stomps on a little thing that brings down a little hammer that puts a new mark on it, and it's the mark of the Servants of the Scale. And he gives them back to us. And he's like, well, there. Now, if you ever come across anybody else with this mark, you know that they're one of us. And you can prove that you are also one of us. But he tells us we got to get out of town. Yeah.
Because you kill a high-ranking official who just happens to be the brother of a very powerful wizard on the High Council.
Yeah. So Arlo and Grim take to the rooftops and run straight towards the port. Jack removes his hat and mask, since nobody knows what he looks like anyway, and just walks there. But as he starts to get into the slums and he starts smelling all these weird smells and stuff, he gets kind of sick, and he puts the mask back on. And they have reached the gate to this big bridge.
Yes, and so the way the island they're on, it's kind of like Cliffs of Dover style. Like it's an island, but there's no beach. It's just like really tall cliffs all the way around. So the only way off the island, there might be a few little... I
said port earlier. I meant to just say bridge.
Oh, yeah. There might be a few little private docks that you have to climb down a mountain on the other side of the island from. But the only way to get down get off to the mainland this way is to cross the Great Bridge.
And there was a bustle of people outside that gate because the gates were closed.
Yes, the gates were locked down.
They found out that Ronald Witherbranch had been killed.
And they weren't letting anybody out, so they didn't want to let the murderers out.
Exactly. And then chaos, total chaos.
This is this is one of the situations where like all hell does break loose a little bit.
This was probably one of my favorite combat encounters ever, though.
Mine too.
So I'm probably going to get a little bit into this one. So
sure.
To first start off, we managed to squeeze our way through to almost the front, and Arlo cast a fog cloud on everybody, so there's even more confusion. Nobody knows what's going on. And we start shouting for everybody to just push forward, try and push those gates open. They can't, Area 51 style, they can't stop us all. And while that's happening, Grim and I enter the towers on either side of this gate, the gate control towers. And he gets to the top and he finds like these orcs and throws them off the tower and jumps down and stomps on them. And he intentionally does not open the gate because he doesn't want all these people to die when they go through. Right. But I figured most of the orcs were going to be dead by the time the people got through anyway. So I just opened the gate and let them through.
Not originally, right? Because there's some things that happened that cracked the gate.
Yeah, the gate was being pushed open.
Yeah.
And one of the orcs, as they were shooting down towards me while I was still on the ground, he hit a horse, and the horse carriage actually ran me over and ran into the gate. Yeah. And that really got it started. And then people were starting to squeeze through a little crack in the gate.
Yeah.
And Arlo managed to squeeze through the crack as well. And he was on the other side with Burb.
Yep.
And this was one of those instances we totally forgot about Burb. He was just kind of over there.
Yeah, we didn't do anything with Burb in that, did we?
Not at all.
I think we canonized it that, like, if we don't mention Burb, he's just, like, stuck to one of you like glue. Just, like, you know.
Usually Arlo, because Arlo's kind of like his main dude. So I went up into the tower, and as I was climbing up the ladder through the trap door, I got stabbed with a spear.
Yeah.
So I like moved the spear out of the way and continued into the tower, and then he stabbed me again.
Yeah.
So this time I took the spear out of his hands and just threw it into the water behind me. And I think I ended up pushing him off the tower as well.
And also it's like 200 feet down to the water. It should be known.
Yeah, I threw him into the water.
Yeah.
So then I pull the lever that opens the gate. There's three levers and 2 gates, so I don't know what the situation was. But I pulled one lever, it didn't do anything, so I pushed the other lever up, and it did open one side of the gate.
I do not remember what I was thinking with those levers.
It was supposed to be kind of like a puzzle thing, like I had to figure it out, I assume. And as soon as the gates opened, I jumped off the tower just like Grim did, but instead of onto a person, I jumped onto a horse, which was attached to a cart. As we rode through, we snatched up Arlo, and Burb was on the back of the cart because Grim missed his chance to get on the horse. He missed his chance to get grabbed by Arlo, and Burb was hanging out the back, and he was like, "Come on, Grim!" Yeah. And then he was able to pull Grim in the last little bit.
It should be noted that Burb's way of communication, he kind of has his own voice now. I haven't done an exceptional job at talking through that transition, but at the beginning he could only mimic things he heard. Yeah, he could only and the first thing he ever heard was "Come on, friend." So he says that a lot from Arlo. But now he's kind of developed his own little voice. He's heard enough words where he kind of makes his own little voice. Yeah, he speaks very laconically, like Burb want, Burb do. Yeah, not like stuff like that. But he does kind of have his own voice now. So
Burb is one of our favorite characters. He's like one of the main things that makes this campaign great.
There's a meme on D&D memes where it seems like it's just very common to have. The meme is like, you know, the party goes into a bar and the DM has prepared like all these characters, but he just offhand mentions like, oh yeah, there's like a goblin at that table or whatever, and the party's like, I want to talk to that goblin. Yeah. And the DM's like, I don't know who that is. Like, what's his name? And his name's always like, he's Boblin the Goblin or whatever. And so now there are memes about like, you know, the party's face whenever they'll do anything to protect Boblin the Goblin, stuff like that. So Burb is your Boblin the Goblin.
Yeah, which his name is equally quickly made up. Burb. He's a bird.
I actually named him before we played. Yeah.
Okay. I do like. There was a lot of Burb memes at the time. as well. So yeah, we go galloping across this giant bridge.
Several miles long.
Yeah. And we were the first ones out. Most of the orcs are dead, and there's so much confusion with all the people trying to get across the bridge anyway that we're able to speed out and nobody catches us.
Yep.
We get to the end of the bridge and we immediately cut off into the forest, make camp for a little while, and we even repaint the cart because it was an orc army cart.
Which is very generous of me to allow you to paint anything using like dyes from berries overnight.
Well, now he is a druid and he's experienced. Yeah, it is very generous. So somehow we take it from what is there? Theirs is blue, right? Or did we?
You
paint
made it blue.
So
I think.
yeah, we made it just a blue cart and we took it to town, which. No carts were painted at this time except for the orc ones, so really the fact that it was painted at all probably gave people some idea of what it was.
But you've crossed the bridge, you're now on the mainland.
Yeah.
You have been told to go to a town called Fark, this town that you're headed to, and you've been told by Corgus to wait there for further orders.
And this is Jack Law's hometown.
Yep.
Where his wife was killed and where his meatery exists.
Yeah.
A
lot goes on here.
Yeah, lots and lots goes on here. So
we can probably do it fairly quickly.
Yeah. Start off with we find out that there's a big new nice garden in the middle of town. Mm-hmm. And that is thanks to this fat dwarf druid who came through not long ago.
I completely forgot about I was trying to remember the catalyst for the events of this town.
So we found out that this big fat druid was none other than Arlo's main man, Briar.
Yes.
So we follow some clues, doing some more investigating to figure out what happened to Briar. We find out he's been taken by gnolls, because lots of people have been taken by gnolls, because there's a big old stank going on between the gnoll camps and the town itself.
Gnolls are like very tall, stand-up hyena creatures that are intelligent, but not like...
I kind of want to play a gnoll for Josh's campaign.
That'd be pretty cool.
Because you could get to do like a crazy man voice for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to go in there and kill him.
Yeah.
And you get to laugh at everything, too, because they're hyenas. Anyway.
At least they look like it.
Yeah. So we find out that there's all this stuff going on between the gnolls and the people of the town. And that all revolves around the death of some children that got blamed on the gnolls. And we don't know that it wasn't them, but we're not prepared to just assume that it was. So we do know that the gnolls captured Briar, and that is an inalienable fact. So we go in and bust some gnolls up and get Briar out of there.
Yeah.
While we were there, we discovered that they had a dormant treant there.
Yeah.
That was slumbering, and they were trying to use Briar to wake him up so they could basically just raise the town with this powerful treant.
Because Briar's a druid. The gnolls knew that, so they kidnapped him. They're like, hey, we're going to torture you until you wake this giant tree creature up so that we can use it to destroy this town because we don't like them.
At some point, Zenas uses the torture collar that
they got from Burb.
Yeah. Burb was a slave who had this shock collar, so now Zenas uses it to torture people.
It's effective.
Yeah.
Ish.
So we tortured this... Zenas tortured this gnoll into giving us information about what's going on, and no matter what we did, he always said that it wasn't us, we didn't do it. So, felt kind of bad about that.
Because it didn't just torture him. He ended the gnoll's life
he killed
by pressing his necrotic fist through his face.
Again. Do a lot of face pressing with necrotic fists in this campaign.
We do.
So we went back to town, and I gained control of his... Oh, it was that gnoll that he killed. He brought him back as a skeleton.
Yeah.
Bones. And we gave him a torch, and the gallows where this gnoll was going to be executed in town, he walked straight to it and set it on fire, and nobody stopped him. But while all that confusion was going on, not very confusing because nobody was even paying attention.
Once it lit on fire, it was somewhat...
During that distraction, Jack snuck into the mayor's house and found out that it was all a cover-up.
Yeah.
And that Ronald Witherbranch's hunting party had accidentally stirred up an owlbear that killed the children. But he didn't want people to know that that was the case because his brother was running for the council or whatever at the time, and he was running for constable, and he couldn't be in that kind of...
While you're explaining this, I feel bad for, like, feeling myself a little bit, but as you're explaining this story, I'm thinking, like, that's not bad.
That's some good on-the-fly thinking. Because Keith did not plan that.
Originally, no. Originally, I did not. Originally, it was the Gnolls.
Yeah.
Originally, it wasn't a sanctioned attack by the Gnolls. It was just like, kind of like the doppelgangers, just some punk, kid got caught on the wrong day. Gnoll kid got caught on the wrong day and murdered him. But I think Brice made an offhand comment that, like, I bet it's like something like this.
Yeah, we were leaving or something, and the mayor was, like, freaking out because we were going to, like, investigate the place where the kids were killed or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe the mayor has something to do with it. And Keith, the gears began turning.
Yeah, I remember the experience sitting at this very table, like, barely being able to focus on what you were doing because I was creating this story.
There was a lot of silence because Keith was, like, vigorously scribbling on a paper.
Yeah.
But anyway, I confronted the mayor, and I told him that I could understand what was going on and that if we make things right, then he doesn't have to die. But at that point, the Gnolls actually approached the outside of the city, and they're like, tomorrow night, if nobody brings us so-and-so, we're going to burn the city to the ground. Or no, they just said tomorrow night we're going to burn the city to the ground.
So the order of events, I think we got it a little mixed up. You guys go and save Briar.
Yeah.
You come back to town.
Yeah.
You get in a bit of a debrief. That evening...
they were camped out in the woods.
That evening is when the Gnoll, they come and they burn down 2 houses.
Yeah.
And they say, like, if you don't bring us that fat Druid back by
That's
tomorrow,
what it was,
we're going to come in force and we're going to do this to the whole town. The reason the mayor was upset for you when you were leaving is because you guys were leaving to go investigate and try to figure things out. You were taking Briar with you, and the mayor was very concerned you were taking him, and that's when Bird got shot on the way out with an arrow.
Yeah.
And so you guys were in the woods. You split up. You came back to investigate the mayor's house. The others went to the Gnoll camp to talk to the Gnolls, and Briar and Burb stayed behind.
At some point, Grimm talked to the Gnoll that was in prison.
Yes.
Or maybe it was Arlo. One of them talked to the Gnoll that was in prison. I think it was Grimm, because I remember a whole thing about a key, and he, like, broke the desk to get the key and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm telling a lot of the story from Jack's point of view.
Yeah, sorry.
So, yeah, we were able to figure out what was going on. We all met back up in the woods, and we explained the situation to one another. And we met up at where the kids were killed. And Arlo and Grimm were able to get a message to one of the Gnolls, and the Gnoll came out and spoke with us. And we were able to discuss, hey, let's have a meeting between you, me, and the mayor in public with everybody watching, and we'll discuss what happened.
You referring to you as the leader Gnoll. You had planned on the leader of the Gnolls named Black Fang.
Yeah. I kept wanting to call him Dark Fang for some reason.
Black Fang.
Yeah. So we agreed that you may bring weapons, but you may not draw them unless you are prepared to have words with swords.
Which would have been a wonderful way to describe it.
Yeah. So we went to the site of the recently burned down gallows, and we said everything that had happened in front of everybody.
And cue up the probably worst roleplay DMing ever on my part, because I was playing like 3 characters at the same time, and I couldn't remember that I was all of them.
Keith's just looking around like, what does he say to that? Oh, wait, that's me.
Yeah, I would say something as the mayor, and then I would like wait for a response, and then Zenas would be over there like, that's you.
that is also you, sir. So, we end up tying up the mayor, and we're going to give him to somebody. Are we gonna give him to the gnolls, and that's when the orc army?
We're gonna take him to the orc army. We're gonna go like we're walking out of town, and like you've done this. We're gonna drop you off at. We're gonna call you ourselves. We're gonna give you to the next orcs we see.
And they happen to be coming in at that time, so that worked out well. And that was another really cool combat. Situation.
But it was more than a culling party that was coming. These were people coming looking for you guys.
Yeah,
the people who had killed Ronald Witherbranch.
Yeah, so this was a big orc party. Several fighters, goblin riders,
mages.
Some orc warcasters.
Yep.
So we ended up. Jack very nearly died that day.
Also, the sheriff. We haven't mentioned the sheriff, but you guys kind of.
I was going to get to him at the end because that's where he became majorly important.
Gotcha.
Did we leave him as acting mayor, or did we leave Briar as acting mayor?
Briar's the mayor.
But the sheriff was prepared to. He was all about serving the town. Yep. He didn't care what the gnolls did. He didn't care what the mayor did. He just wanted to make sure that the town was safe, the people were safe. Yeah. So
he was prepared to give you all up.
Yeah.
And say like, hey, they are the guys that killed Ronald Witherbranch.
And he did in fact do that. Yeah. And Jack heard him say that.
And Black Fang also was not cool with this because Black Fang was your buddy now. Because Black Fang, he was like, well, these people were honorable to me. They, they killed some of my men, but also they tried to help me.
Yeah, he was very Spartan about the whole situation. Like these men are honorable in combat kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So, made friends with him, and we started dismantling the orc patrol team, orc platoon, I suppose. And there's very few of them left, and we're all kind of on the ropes. We've run out of spells and things like that, and we hear some heavy footsteps. Yeah. And it was Briar. Boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. Big fat Briar riding a big fat treant.
No, it was Burb that was riding the treant. Briar didn't come out there.
Oh, Briar stayed behind?
Yeah, Briar, I think, was still at the town.
Okay, so Burb. Oh, yeah, Burb with a crossbow riding a treant.
Yeah. Because it was nice because the first arrow he shot was a hit from the crossbow.
Yeah, it was like a nat 20 or something, too. You know, I feel like maybe 2 or 3 sessions ago I gave Burb my crossbow. That was a long time ago I gave Burb that crossbow.
Yeah.
Jack, during this confusion, runs off into the woods because he's dying and starts throwing knives from the trees. Yeah. I killed like 2 people like that, though.
Yeah.
We get to see Arlo's first use of like his animal summoning and stuff like that, and his first real use of wild shape in combat, as he sends condors after people who are attacking me, and he kills them, and I kill the goblin rider, and the treant starts throwing boulders at people.
Yeah.
So it all ends up, the orcs are demolished. The sheriff was knocked unconscious but not dead. Whatever happened to the mayor? I think we just left him there, tied up.
You sent him to work. You sent him to the gnolls, I think.
Did we?
Yeah, he had to go work with the gnolls, I think.
It was kind of like, well, that didn't work. Here, you take him.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Then we went back to town. Kind of a no hard feelings thing with the sheriff. We understood that he was just trying to protect the town. And we installed Briar as the mayor. If you want to look at it from a different perspective, we are the bad guys of this story. We're going through, we're shaking things up, we're killing council members, installing people of power where we want them because they're our friends. But
they're also good people, it seems like. But Robert seems like a good guy.
Yeah, but we're kind of anti-heroes, it seems like, at this point, though.
Yeah.
Because while we are doing helpful things, we're also manipulating the social order in a way that benefits us.
I would say it probably benefits more than just you.
Yeah.
If you've benefited both parties.
Yeah.
No more gnolls are dying. No more people are dying. You know, it's a positive. I think you're netting positivity wherever you go.
Yeah.
I think.
So, there's a lot that went on here. So then we go to...
We probably ought to... I very much. We can talk about the details of some of the stuff we really enjoy, but we probably do need to gloss over some things because we are we are really taking our time.
Okay, so all that aside, Briar's now the mayor, and we go to the what was
Thirsty
it?
Thurge.
The Thirsty Thurge. Jack buys a book on wizarding because he wants to get some magic experience, and we meet Simon there.
Yep.
And Simon is carrying something that we need, and he will only give it to us if we help him with a small side quest.
A key.
Yeah. We didn't know that, though, did we?
You knew you needed a key.
Okay. Because we got a message from Mom and Dad, who were...
Corgus and Betty.
Yeah. So we go and we help him get this artifact called the Mask of Many Faces. Mm-hmm. And we find it in a old, like, abandoned amphitheater kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we find... we go down into the depths of this... Well, we put the big black stone that I found in this little...
reservoir.
Yeah.
Like a bowl in front of it.
Yeah, and it kind of melts and turns to a liquid, and then it drains down through the bowl, and we hear a voice of what we learn later to be Garl Glittergo.
Yes, you did. You did hear a voice indeed.
And Garl then proceeds to display like some of our innermost turmoil in the form of like these plays on the stage, and we all just kind of watch in horror or fascination or whatever, depending on the situation.
Go see that episode for what they look like.
It was a good episode. And then the back of the amphitheater opens up, and there's a staircase going deep underground. So we went down there, and we did some trials with some wardrobes and fought some creatures from the world of make-believe. Yeah. And after all these trials were completed, Simon received the Mask of Many Faces.
Yeah.
And his face shrunk down to a miniature size.
Because to briefly explain him, Simon just was a tool of a guy.
Yeah,
he was a treasure tracker.
And he had slept with these people's mom and stole their tapestry that was like a family heirloom because it was a map to this place and all kind of stuff. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, and he didn't help you guys fight and none of that stuff.
Nope. And so his face shrinks down and he can't get enough oxygen through his tiny mouth and nose. And Garl is just very pleased with himself.
Yeah.
Because his tubes didn't work properly anymore. And so
the Mask of Miniature Faces.
So Garl then gives us the real Mask of Many Faces with an A.
Manifold faces.
Yeah. So we now have, Grim now has this mask that lets him transform his face and 4 other people's faces into, or their whole body into whoever they want.
Yeah.
So now we leave there, we take the key out of Simon's hair, which is where he was keeping it, along with a violin.
In his hair?
He had it somewhere. You said the key was hidden in his hair.
The key was in his hair.
So we took that and we left. And
the key also looked like the same obsidian stone.
I did not know that. I thought it was just a key.
Nope. Black.
Huh. Okay.
Made out of the same stuff.
So then we continued going.
Yep.
To Strongwater? Or is that the place where
I think it's Strongwater. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that's the town.
I know we went to a place called Strongwater, but is that where we ended up, or is that where we got on the boat?
That's where you got on the boat.
Okay, we went to Strongwater.
Just briefly, we'll say, on the way you picked up Misiko.
On the way, we picked up Misiko. He was a merchant on a capsized cart. Mm-hmm. We also fought a basilisk.
You did.
Took many scales from it and put them on our little cart, and we continued to Strongwater, bought some stuff in a shop, and got on a ship.
I guess we should mention Misiko a little bit.
Yeah.
Misiko is like he seemed to be in distress. You guys saved him. He explained he was headed back to the Round Isle. That's where he lived. He was down on his luck. He was like a very snake-like looking person, not human. He had like yellow skin, and his ears were very long, very Jack and Daxter-like. Ratchet and Clank-like, kind of in between. He's tall like Jack and Daxter people.
Yeah. So he was trying to get back to his family?
Yeah.
Yeah, or so he says.
So he said.
And we noticed some weird stuff about Misiko through all this stuff. but he seemed to still be working in our favor, so it wasn't really much of a concern. So we continued on to the port, and while we were on the ship, Burb actually goes missing, and...
Yeah, so you got on the ship, you're going to cross to the Round Isle.
Yeah, the Round Isle, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So Burb goes missing while we're on the ship.
Yes.
And we spend this entire voyage trying to find him, and we finally found him in the cup of the big figure on the front of the ship.
The very end of your,
Waddle.
9 or 10 episode boat journey?
So we found him, and at about the same time we found Burb. God, there was so much happened here too. So originally, we get down into the bottom of the ship where we're hiding because they don't know that there's more than 2 people on this boat, because we all hid in the canopy of our cart.
Or more than the 2 of you. This is a passenger/cargo ship.
Yeah. So while we're there, we hear tell of a book that tells us where other artifacts of the gods are hidden.
You hear of a magic map. That's all you heard about. The captain has a magic map.
So we sneak in, try and find it, can't find it. So we leave a message for her slave, who obviously has a stink with her. So we want to try and get that map.
Her gnomish slave named Guh.
Yeah, Guh. So we want to meet with Guh and see if he can explain where the map is. And we get to Guh, and all Guh can say is Guh. So we try all kinds of things, and he seems to start trying to say stuff, but then it just comes out Guh. So we realize there's something stopping him, and we think it might be magical. So we use these magic locks that we had found earlier that would cause him, that they dispel magic. So we clamped him down with these magic locks, and the locks are actually overcome by the amount of magic that is stored in Guh, and they begin to crumble and crack. So we take them off quickly, and Guh is pointing to the book that we took from him, and he takes it, or we give it back to him. He takes it and starts whispering into it, I think they know.
Yeah.
And then the book flies open, and you hear Garl Glittergold's voice coming out of it, telling us, "Oh yeah, I enchanted the crap out of Guh. He can only say Guh." But it turns out this book is the map that we were looking for.
Because Garl revealed to you when you got the Mask of Many Faces that the gods, his fellow gods also had made some magical items and hidden them in places throughout the world.
Yeah.
And so that's what this map reveals, is if you know if you know the existence of an item, if you know that a Mask of Many Faces exists, it will appear in a general place on the map where it is located.
So then, Guh returns to the captain, and later that morning we discover Burb. He's laid out on the ground. No, did we find him?
Yeah, he's laid out on the deck of the ship.
Yeah. And
everybody's gathered around trying to figure him out.
And then Guh does something insignificant, and the captain starts kicking him and beating him, and Guh is Guh, kick, Guh, kick, Guh, kick. And then you hear, Guh! And Guh transforms into basically the abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie.
Yeah.
And starts just tearing apart the ship. And this is also where Pinkerton Toulouse comes from. Pinkerton Toulouse was the ship's mess.
He might be now.
Yeah.
He was the chef.
Mess sergeant.
Yep.
So him and Jack became friends a little bit at this point.
He was kind of a Justin Roiland character, we're cooking some potatoes.
Yeah. So Guh starts tearing up the ship. We're all trying to stop him, except for Arlo and Burb are stealing all the books in the captain's cabin. Yeah. And Misiko comes up out of nowhere, and he's I've prepared for this. And we have a boat that I stole, and it's now dragging behind the ship where no one can see it, which was cool. So we all jump into the water and follow the rope back to the ship, except for Grim, who gets smacked into the ocean, and I dive in after him.
Yeah.
He kind of sort of didn't die.
He gets smacked so hard that he does go unconscious when he hits the water.
And drowns and dies.
I enjoyed that fight because I'm just the idea of a creature that's just, he's too much for you.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you could have figured it out, but just the terrain of the ship plus his strength and just huge health pool, like, he's a tool of the god. Like, he's a toy that the gods made, and he's just huge. You know, just the idea of, like, just picking you guys up and being able to throw you off the boat or whatever. You know, I very rarely get the upper hand in combat with you guys.
Jack was doing pretty good, in my opinion.
You were.
I got smeared across the deck one good time, but other than that, I was hitting him and avoiding hits pretty well. Mm-hmm. Burb lost his sword. We never mentioned the sword in this recap, but Burb had a sword that would scream whenever he unsheathed it. And that was actually how we got into the party, because he ran through the whole party with his screaming sword out the door and flew a little, like, gracefully, like chicken flew over the wall.
I picture it as one big flap and he just leaps over.
So he just bounds over the wall, and that's how I got inside. So that sword is now gone. The boat is bottom of the ocean. Yeah, the boat is being torn apart. Guh is going on a Guh-sized rampage. Mm-hmm. And we all get into the boat. Oh, we stole a treasure chest from the captain. And we get Zenas, and we load him into the lifeboat, and we continue on to the Round Isle at sort of a distance from the giant ship that has the giant man on it destroying everything. The giant gnome. We get there. And you're going to need to take this over. I forget the transition here.
Okay, so you guys hop in the boat. Misiko pilots your boat to the thing. Zenas has expressed suspicions about Misiko by this point, but Grim not so much. But also Misiko, every time you ask him, like, hey, are you telling the truth? If he's not telling the truth and you, like, push him for it, he gives you a reason that everybody's kind of okay with.
Yeah. Every insight check we've done on him has succeeded pretty much, and we all can tell that he's telling the truth, but he's hiding something.
Yeah. But you guys land on the Round Isle, and you walk up to the gate of the city of Buckland, which is where you were told to go after you got
I was trying to remember that.
After you got the key from Simon Treasure Tracker, or whatever. That's where you're told to go.
And we run into a nameless dwarf.
Yeah, you run into you roll up in the middle of kind of a conflict at the gate. There's a dwarf on the wall who looks fed up with the cullings. He says, "You guys came earlier this week or whatever. Well, I'm not letting you come back in here and cull again. I don't care how far we are from the capital. Like, you can't just do what you want. You can't come back. You can come back at the agreed upon time, but you're not doubling down or whatever." And there were some orc mages out there that said, like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And the dwarf who I accidentally named too early as Duncan, he says, "Yeah, let's rumble," or whatever. The orcs transform they bite down on these pellets that turn them into elementals, and so you guys kill 2 elementals in front of this gate.
And take one of the tablets.
And Arlo takes one of the tablets. Duncan narrowly survives.
He takes it like out of his pocket. Yeah, he doesn't take it like he uses it. Yes,
he procures one of the tablets.
Yeah.
It's cold here. After you complete this fight, Duncan's like, "Hey, welcome to the city," or whatever. Eventually, it comes to the point where he's like, "Oh, you're the people we've been waiting on. You need to go up to Fullhammer Mine to speak with Corinne and Albert."
Yeah.
You need to go up there and they'll be able to put you to work or whatever. So you guys do some shopping. You go and take your some of your basilisk skills and stuff to the stores for like crafting and whatnot, but we won't go rehash the shopping trip. So
one thing that we do need to mention is Jack wanted to get his cleaver enchanted, and the enchanter, when he tried to enchant it, it like basically ate the enchantment he was trying to put on it. Nothing special happened to the knife, but like the knife, I also gave him another knife that was already enchanted. It was a blood drinking knife, and I gave him both of them, like maybe he could dismantle one to power the other, but the cleaver was sitting next to it. It actually absorbed the other blade. It stole the enchantment the guy tried to put on it, and that kind of all goes to the whole it's the hex blade, and it's consuming more power.
Yes.
So from there we go to, is it called the Full Hammer Mine?
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the Full Hammer Mine, and it's run by the Full Hearts.
Yes, and the location is there's a big like log cabin manor type thing. There's a mine, and there's a bunch of cabins off to the side where workers probably stay.
And they are mining a special element called planium.
Yes.
Which is basically what this whole campaign is based on, as far as I can tell.
Kinda.
And it is like the most valuable thing in the world, and it kind of causes a rift between our plane of existence and another or others. I don't know if it's all or... Yeah, so it's kind of like a point where everything kind of gets closer together. All the different planes of existence can kind of almost touch at the point of concentrated planium.
Albert Fullheart kind of explains. So you guys walk in there with Misiko and stuff, and Misiko says, "I'm just trying to get back to my home or whatever." And Albert says, "Oh, well, if you've helped these people get here, you're a friend of ours. We'll prepare you to do that. Go follow this friend of ours, or this person, and he'll get you set up with supplies." So Misiko is not in here for this conversation. Albert begins some exposition to explain, what's going on. Servants of the Scale, all this kind of stuff. He knows that the High Council is intentionally killing and producing all this discord in the universe to throw off the balance. Yeah. They understand that the world is built on balance. They're doing all this evil and all this killing to throw that off. For what purposes, he's not sure. He has some ideas, but he doesn't get into them. But he knows they want to throw the balance of the world off, and they're using their tactics to do it. And one thing that they're after is just planium. They want planium. Yeah. And this planium is exactly as you said. It is kind of like he feels like maybe it's a common substance between the planes. It's something that allows the planes, whether intentionally or unintentionally, to link.
Yeah. Kind of like the Dark Tower in the Stephen King books.
I do not know this, but I'll trust you.
The Dark Tower exists in the same location in every universe. In the whole multiverse, if you go to that location in that universe, the Dark Tower is there. It exists in all universes simultaneously.
Okay, cool. We will see how close that is in the future.
Fair enough.
I don't want to explain too much. There's a lot of reveals that will come with that. But that's essentially, he's getting excited about it. He's trying to explain to you. So this is, and what we need you to do.
Yeah, but his wife was like, "Honey, slow yourself down, take a breath. Yeah, what we need you to do is."
Well, he tries to tell you the next task you'll be on. Yeah. Or the next big thing. He's like, "You just got here, but we really need to send you to the mainland again because there's this magical item. It's called Moradin's Tiny Orb, I think is what we called it, or he called it to you, is that we need this to defend ourselves against the council. We think they're close to being able to know where we are and attack us. We need something to help defend us."
He wanted to shrink down their whole operation and move it somewhere else.
Yeah, Patrick style.
Yeah. That was not planned.
Yeah, that was not planned, but yes, Patrick style indeed. But Corinne says, "Hey, honey bear, baby doll, calm down.
Sugar muffin."
Because we have bigger issues, especially because Duncan just killed all those people at the gate. There we have a smaller force that will likely be coming at us within days. Yeah. We need you to go and harvest some teeth from some creatures
called
Blinxes.
And these creatures have lived in a bunch of planium-infused water, correct? And they've kind of evolved where the planium is actually part of their bodies, and now their bite can...
I didn't explain to you what created these creatures.
Okay.
I will tell you that's not accurate, but I didn't explain to you what is.
Okay. I thought that was kind of just what they were getting at. They were planium creatures, basically.
No, yeah, they are. There's planium involved. Their teeth are... I'll just tell. I mean, it's not a big reveal. Their teeth are made of this stuff.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to tell the origin of the planium is not the pool.
Gotcha.
And that will be more revealed later on too. So anyway, these animals, creatures. Sorry.
So long story short, we kill several of them, collect all their teeth, and we head back to the manor, because she wants to make a bunch of arrows out of them, so that any orcs that come in, it's just a one shot, one vanish into another universe that nobody knows anything about.
Because the power of the teeth is...
I thought I said that already.
I don't think we talked about it yet.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, the bite of these creatures will send you to their home plane of existence, which is a world of water and Blinkses.
Yeah.
And possibly other creatures, which is really, really cool and kind of creepy because you can imagine like giant sea creatures that live there that just like travel through time and the multiverse.
Yeah.
I've always liked the idea of creatures of the deep. You have no idea what they are.
Thalassophobia, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, so we go back to the Full Heart Manor with all these teeth, and we're going to go make some arrows, but when we open the door, everybody but Jack smells some blood.
Mm-hmm.
And we enter to find a trident in the chest of
Corinne Fullheart.
Yeah, Corinne Fullheart, as Misako wields this trident because he has been tasked with murdering the family. And he's mostly succeeded. He was able to kill Albert. Albert was dead, cold. There was no helping him.
Big old nasty pool of blood he's in.
Yeah.
There may yet be help for him if Zenas figures it out.
Yeah. Corinne was nearly dead. And Misako sees us, and he's like, I'm sorry I had to do it. They said they'd let me go. And he bolts for it. He assumes she's going to die. She's been stabbed in the chest. These guys obviously can't do magic that will bring her back to life. And jumps out the window and runs for it. Arlo jumps out and in mid-jump turns into a giant eagle.
Very
and
cool.
Flies off of the front porch of this log cabin house as a giant bald eagle.
Yeah.
Very Captain America style.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Captain America really had actual superpowers,
that'd be one of them.
His superpower would be jumping off front porches of log cabins as a giant bald eagle.
Yep.
So
with an AR-15 strapped to his chest.
Yeah. So he swoops down and he's able to kind of deal with Misako for a little bit.
Yeah.
While Grim heals Corinne, and I go out the back way because I hear Torque and Justine approaching.
Yeah. One important thing that we should mention is that Torque came and went hunting Blinkses with you, and he said Justine has to come along because if you get bit by this Blinks and you get blinked to this other plane, there's only one person that we know of in the world that can save you, and it's Justine, because Justine can at will, it seems, go travel through the plane and come get you.
So I'm guarding the other entrance
to make sure that they don't come in and see this horrible scene.
Yeah, of their brutally murdered parents. Well, one brutally murdered and the other brutally injured.
Yeah.
Grim heals Corinne, and Arlo loses Misako when Misako vanishes in like a puff of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we see another puff of fire start forming from the ground up. And standing there is none other than Donald Witherbranch,
yes,
Ronald's brother. And he is here to get some payback because we killed his little baby brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, we upset his parents or something.
And one thing I was trying to get across is that he cares less about the fact that you killed his baby brother and more about the fact that you killed his baby brother because his dead mother loved him a lot.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, if... What that would have done to my mom is what's bothering me. Now, I mean, we didn't take the time to really explain that.
It was a lot of combat going on.
Yeah, in the safe back at the manor, there's a picture of a fairly unwealthy couple with two little boys. And, like, there were a couple wedding rings in there, which I was trying to get across that, like, Donald and Ronald came from less than. Yeah, and so... Yeah, Donald came essentially, and he came by himself. So it seems like he's on a revenge mission more than anything, like unsanctioned, unprepared to bring others to attack.
My plan was to actually give Donald those rings whenever I encountered him, but it just didn't really plan out. I wasn't planning to encounter him, obviously. Yeah. And so combat ensues there. I turn away Torque and Justine. Torque covers Justine's ears, so she didn't really hear what was happening. And I told Torque what was going on and that it was being dealt with, and he said, okay, I'll take her, and he just kind of walks off. He doesn't really say anything.
Yeah. He's rather distraught.
I hear combat, and I go out and I try and help. And there's a big epic battle. Confusion arises. Well, nope, that didn't happen.
Because we edited it out.
We had some trouble with a wall spell.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got Donald kind of on the ropes a little bit. Not really. He could have probably beaten us, or at least given us a lot more trouble than he did, but he was just overconfident.
He was overconfident, running on passion.
Yeah. And even if he couldn't have beat us, he could have definitely left.
Yeah.
More than anything. But we were able to trap him because Arlo used that tablet of elemental transformation, and he became a water elemental, and he consumed Donald consumed Donald Witherbranch inside this big thing of water and started drowning him. And whenever he fell unconscious, we were going to question him. But just before that happened, Grim reached into the water and pulled him out, and also pushed his necrotic fist through his head again.
Killed him.
Yeah.
Killed him dead.
Yeah.
Overcome with rage.
Yes. Powerful, lust-filled rage.
Yeah.
And then Donald Witherbranch's skin kind of like seeps back into his bones or whatever, and there's just this metallic planium skeleton laying there. And
yeah. Oh, what I was trying to get across is that the only thing that you could see of him was not his bones, but his blood vessels hardened.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Sorry.
I remember one of you said like, "Oh, that sounds cool."
Yeah.
Which I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was thinking of the thing from Bones.
Yeah.
The metal
No, it's
skeleton.
not a big deal.
Yeah. Anyway, somebody was like, "Well, I guess I'll do it. I'm gonna touch it," and we touched the metal vascular system.
Yeah.
And the whole world exploded. The end.
It exploded into that cloud of gray dust, and all of you are now swirling in what I've called, like, it almost feels like a world between worlds, and you're swirling
Limbo.
and you can see far and nowhere, and it feels like you exist yet don't exist all at the same time, and that swirling gray smoke and blue lightning, and you're all standing there together. Or whatever, and that stuff is just washing over you, and you guys hear two voices in the ether. The first is the voice of Garl Glittergold, which you recognize, and he's saying like, "You see, I told you they're getting far too close." And then another more confident voice you hear says, have some faith, Garl. It will correct itself. It was built to correct itself." And then that's where we ended the season.
Ta-da! That didn't take as long as I thought it would.
We turned up the speed there halfway through.
Yeah, we turned it up a lot though.
Yeah.
I think even if we had continued with our detailed explanations, it still wouldn't have gone too long.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a lot of fun to recap that.
Yeah.
It is a whole. Also, just one thing about D&D is like we're talking about these named characters. Like, I mean, there's probably 20 or 30, or maybe 20 named characters, 30 maybe so far. Like. You three play one, and I play the rest of them. Like, there's 4 people creating, like, it's just interesting. Like, we talk about them as if they're almost fully realized people.
And there's some we didn't even go through, like the guy who made Pokesy the trident, the guy who we bought all our magic items from.
Krong is the.
It's Krong Strong.
Yeah. Phrygius is your favorite magic item vendor, the only one so far.
Yeah. We didn't go through Hans Maytag.
Yeah.
We didn't go through, what was it? The Enchanter.
Yeah, right.
All kind of stuff.
Go back and listen to it. You really treat yourself. It's only 48 episodes and probably like 60 hours worth of content.
We should have just gone for 50. We totally could have made 50.
Yeah, we could have.
But yeah, now a much more condensed recap. We had basically it went in arcs. We had the Lonesome arc, which consisted of us joining the Lid, then joining the SOS, and in between those two things we killed the Constable.
Yep.
kind of marshal governor of Lonesome. And then from there we have the Fark arc, where we save the town from the Gnolls, and we save the Gnolls from the town, and we kill the guy.
Yeah. Then you have, essentially, we'll call it the Strongwater arc, which is traveling to get there. Kind
of an interlude. Yeah, Strongwater, I guess that extends to the boat as well.
Yeah.
So the arc.
Yeah.
So we go from Strongwater to the boat. We find out that Garl has been manipulating a couple things behind the scenes, and we get the magic book. Continue to Buckland,
which we'll call the Buckland arc unfinished.
Yeah. And that is the season finale where all of this transpired. We've killed a council member, and we've caused a big mix-up in the universe. And we're waiting for the universal dust to settle back down into whatever form it will take now.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, we begin our one-off campaigns.
Yep. Just a quick break to give you a chance. Like, it's hard for anybody to get into an already 48 episode long thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll give people a break, see if there's a place that you want to... Maybe we'll convince new people to come hang out with us, and then you'll want to jump in for season 2. Brice, I've truly enjoyed this.
I don't know why my voice is cracking. Can I give a little bit of information on my one-off?
You can. I'm going to go pee one more time, as hopefully we will wrap up shortly.
All right. So Josh's campaign is going to come first. The guy who plays Arlo is going to be DMing a one-off campaign based pretty early on in the story. It will not contain any of our actual characters. No Grim, no Arlo, no Jack. But Keith will be playing as a character, and Zenas and I will be playing as new characters. But that's not what I want to get into. I'm actually going to host the next one. I'll be DMing mine, which will take place right after the boat conflict. And it will consist of 3 unlikely survivors, that being Keith's character, whatever it may be, Josh's character, and Zenas' character. They will wash ashore a small, unnamed island, along with their favorite character from this arc, Pinkerton Toulouse, the chef of the Winifred's Waddle ship. And I'm planning to make it sort of a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of thing. And they will have to survive the night and hopefully make it off the island by morning. Because the island is full of monsters. And that's really it. I don't want to get into it too much because Keith is going to play in that campaign, and I don't want him to be editing this and know everything that's going on. So, I don't even know if you heard that. I guess you'll hear it during the recording, or during the editing. You're going to be trapped on an island with Pinkerton Toulouse after washing up from this ship.
Nice.
And it's going to be like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of thing. You have to survive till morning and try and flag down a ship.
Awesome.
But like you said, there's lots of magical monsters and stuff popping up since all of this chaos has been created. Cool. And this is one epicenter where there's lots of magic monsters.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Y'all probably be kind of higher level, like 7 at least.
Nice.
Probably 7.
Are you gonna let me play my my barbarian that lives on the island?
You can play whatever you want.
Okay.
Pinkerton Toulouse is gonna be there. If you want to play him, we could definitely orchestrate where we're yeah. He could transform into a barbarian if you want. I don't know what. Maybe Pinkerton Toulouse is like a army veteran.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah. We'll discuss it.
Yeah,
over waffles.
Brice, last thing. Can give me on a scale of 1 to 10 your assessment of the campaign so far.
The first half, I'd rate it an 8.
Okay.
The second half, I'd rate it like a 9 because I really liked you were getting more smooth with transitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The first 10 episodes, I would give it a 7.
Yeah.
The following rest of the first half, that's what I'd give an 8.
There were some good moments in the first 10 episodes, but they were it was choppy. It was hard. It was hard to get started.
We had some audio problems. We were trying to do video and audio.
Yeah.
All kind of stuff. We were just getting into the groove of it. If you can muster your way through those first 10 episodes, I promise you will love the rest of this. The following 20 episodes that ensued were great, and then we kind of had our halfway point there before we got on the boat. And then the next 20 episodes, I think we were just absolutely locked in. We knew what we were doing.
Promises for upcoming episodes. Better role play.
Keith will be one of the characters. Keith is great at RP, so he is going to definitely be pulling the party along.
I will say
in some RP.
It tends to be my strong suit. When we play our regular game, I just try to... Because that's what I find the most fun, so I do it the most.
Our regular game.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. So we should have 3 to 4 one-off campaigns, and then we'll get back to your favorite Dungeon Boys.
So gosh, it'll be probably about 12 to 13 weeks before you see Dungeon Boys again. Yeah. And I need it. I need a break from figuring it out, honestly, and I'm ready to get fresh and figure out what... I mean, I know what happens next. Generally, I got plot points, but, to populate it and all. Just let us know, man. Leave us a review, or lady. Leave us a review. Tank Media or Twitter at Tank Media Games, YouTube.com/Tank Media Games. Just let us know if you're out there listening. Let us know if you're out there enjoying this. If you've made it to the end of these 2 episodes, which I'm probably going to split, but maybe I won't. It'll make it one good, big, long episode, and we'll just let it last 2 weeks or something.
That'll work.
But if you made it to the end of this, kudos. Just let us know, man.
Because if we split this into 2 episodes, the big cliffhanger is going to be you going to the bathroom.
Right. Yeah. So just all I'm trying to say is, if you're out there, we appreciate you for watching. If you're out there, spread the Dungeon Boys gospel, and tell other people about it.
And even if you don't watch it, we're going to keep making it because we love it.
Yep. That's it. You can't stop us.
We really want you to watch it.
We do. If this right here, what we've done, what Brice and I have done for the last 3 hours, if I could get paid even half of what I get paid now to do regular work, I would quit my job so fast they wouldn't know what happened.
I've enjoyed this a lot as well.
Yeah, me too.
We could do this, just like a little talk show thing.
Absolutely.
Once a month.
We'll get there. We can start a new show if you want, or we can throw it on Dungeon Boys. But we'll talk about that off camera. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you're enjoying Dungeon Boys, let us know. If you love us, let us know. If you hate us, keep that to yourself. And we will see you in the next thing. Please remember that we love you very, very much.
Duke's Barbecue.